Alright, I want to quickly talk about Z guard. It's definitely, interestingly, Craig Jones and I both like half guard, but there's actually not a massive amount of overlap between the techniques that we favor. Craig's got an amazing Z guard. You can check it out. His instructional, he's got some really good stuff on that. I'm going to very quickly go over some of the stuff that I like to do from there, but really this is not my expertise. So, for me, I much prefer having a high knee shield when I can, whereas Craig will use a low knee shield, either crossing his feet or applying pressure more like this, okay? But first of all, to apply good pressure with your legs, you want to have your top leg on the hip, bottom leg curling back. Get the maximum curl with the right leg and push with the left leg first, then lock up the triangle and pull it tight to add extra, when I say triangle, do like the close guard cross with your feet to add extra push. Yes, turn around. Got pull, push, maximum of that, lock the feet down, and then we've got like the right one's push, the right foot's pushing forward, left foot's curling back, which means the top knee and bottom leg are working in opposite directions here to put maximum pressure here. When Tim tries to drive forward now, it is difficult for him to drive through against that. Okay. Now just be aware, the more shallow I am here, the harder it is for Tim to smash my legs and do a smash pass, the easier it is for him to roll his hips past and pass. The more deep I put my feet, the easier it is to smash past and pry this open, but the harder it's going to be to roll past the legs. So depending how they're beating your knee shield might change how you do that. Let me just quickly show what I mean by this would be a shallow and this would be a deep Z guard. Okay. Now, one control Tim's going to look for is to control my hips. Okay. This is not good for me. This underhook is no good for me at all. Overhooks can be good, but my overhook really needs to separate Tim's shoulder away from his body. Okay, so I've got this gap. Now I've got the ability to, I'm prying Tim's arm open here. So I'm pushing with my legs and pulling with my arm. This is not so good. He's got a high underhook, but a Z guard, I can actually set up some decent attacks from here. So let's have a look on the other side now, just to see what goes on. Down a bit. So, I'm pulling this overhook nice and tight. I can block this arm, and I can use that to scissor and go through to close guard. So I keep the top leg in, pull my right leg as close to my chest as I can, kick through, and we're in close guard. That can be to a triangle if you're flexible. That could potentially be foot on the hip, and then to attack an omoplata here like this as well. One option as well from here, when you do get the overhook, try to actually push the shoulder down too. So I can even get the Z guard, get up on my right elbow and force Tim's shoulder down. It makes him post on that outside hand. So let's say Tim's posturing up, he's annoying me. I might start forcing, say you're fighting with that left hand for something. I might start forcing his shoulder down, so now he has to post. I use this action, I take his wrist, and now I can start to attack from there. You can also potentially go to a Williams guard grip here like this. If you get the shoulder around enough, reaching underneath or onto the shoulder like this, now Tim's in big trouble for the triangle or the omoplata. If you're flexible enough, that could be a rubber guard. Butterfly.
Yep.
From this overhook, I can work to get a butterfly hook on my left leg. So if I control this arm, and I find Tim's drop low on your hips. Yeah, so he's just look on your knees, sir. Yeah, he's low on his knees like this. He might be blocking me from getting back to close guard like before. Then I can often start to scoop my hips out and force a butterfly hook. I've got control of this arm now, or the elbow. I can roll on my side, right foot on the mat. We can use that butterfly hook to sweep over. Lastly, from the Z guard, sometimes we'll get, if if I'm recovering from a half guard, like which I didn't like, sometimes I'll get into the Z guard and I will sometimes go straight for the underhook. From here, I will reach underneath my own leg here, okay? So I'll sit up, forwards, get my hand underneath my own leg, and then I kick through, remove my Z guard, and I get the underhook. So the time to go for the Kimura, Tim might be pushing on my thigh here, on my knee, and he's really putting his head to this side of my body. So he's basically like gifting me the Kimura, okay? Then I think it's a great idea to take the Kimura, and there's a lot of options we can go from there, which we will go through later. But to me, that's the time for that. His hands here, and he's really put his head to the far side, so it's easy to get the grip. Personally, I really don't like the idea of fishing for the grip, like getting this and starting to try to do this, okay? It's too easy for Tim to start controlling me and putting me in a bad position. So I really only like to do it if Tim is really driving his head across and he gives me a chance to catch the Kimura grip from there. The Kimura is a really good grip. If you can get the Kimura grip locked, you have a high chance of finishing. Yep. So I've managed to secure the Kimura grip, and which is a really good position. We just need to be aware of what our options are and when we should be letting go as well. So first of all, a few ways people will get out. Sometimes they'll straighten their arm like this and then turn, okay? What I want to do to try to prevent that is make sure I'm pulling, like I'm actually almost like straightening my arms a little bit, like that. It works against Tim being able to straighten his arm. So it's applying pressure into the bend of the elbow with the back of my forearm, actually by using my triceps. So both wrists are curling down as well, and that forces a bend. So if you straighten your arm now, Tim, much more difficult, okay? It's better than trying to like bicep curl it. Here, if Tim's stronger than me, guaranteed, he will straighten through. But at least here, like even taking your wrist sometimes too far, just to get that extra wedge, is a much stronger action to prevent the arm from straightening. I'm always trying to take Tim over the top. So if he's hiding his hand like this, I want to start putting like upward pressure on the hips here. So when I start moving now, this can start actually lifting Tim's hips. Okay, if I'm just holding like this or trying to yank the arm out all the time, there's very little playing with his balance if I'm trying to do this. So actually having like an upward pressure like this, it's like if his leg wasn't there, this would be the Kimura action. So I'm actually putting that same pressure on. It's just that his own body is in the way, which means it starts lifting his hips here like this. And obviously, like if I can keep my elbows tighter to my body, the more I flare as I do any of this, the more room I give. If my elbow's tight, is definitely much better. Okay, so best case scenario for me is I just get the Kimura. Unlikely I'm gonna yank it out if he's hiding his arm like this. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna try and get rid of his head from being in the way. Two ways I can do that. First one, Tim is just like posturing up. Sometimes people posture up to try to free their elbow. They just try to straighten their arm and free their elbow like that. If we've got good pressure, as he's posturing, I'm sort of keeping like that upward push, which keeps his shoulder down a little bit. I'm gonna free my hips, just for the sake of it, don't post, just sort of lift back. Yeah, because we're gonna deal with that post in a sec. I swing my leg over the head, chop down to break the posture, like this, and then I can put my foot on the hip. Okay, so even if he's holding on now, it's his arm against my foot and my arms, okay? So I should be able to push and pull, free the arm, and crank through, okay? Second to that, I'm gonna feed this left leg deep. Turn hips down, and we're gonna attack the arm lock here like this. Similar finish to the Choi bar from there. Now, second way we can get this leg in front of the head. Sometimes most people get a little more clever, right? They realize that posturing up and pulling out gives me access to their head, and that's not a good thing, okay? So Tim keeps a bit tighter now. I'm gonna start to hip escape away. I'm gonna start to work. We'll go more tight than that in a moment, Tim. So just lean back a little bit. So you're like holding the hips, but keeping your weight back here. Yeah, good. So this is gonna allow me to get a knee shield on the inside, through like this. and then I'm going to flare that out to push his head away with my shin. Okay. Once the shin's pushed his head away, I come over the top with my leg, and we're in the same finishing position. Kick, step on the hip. If he's still too tight from here, or he's posturing up a bit, I follow him up, feed deep, right foot goes over the top of the head, I switch my right arm on top of the thigh. This is the best finishing position for the armbar, and we can go from there, okay? Because if Tim's holding on nice and tight, posture up again. With this wound up, I like roll a little this way, wind it up as high as I can, and then when I roll back, it puts a lot of shoulder pressure to kick Tim over. Okay, so once I wind that up, I reach all the way to here, and then when I roll back, I kick, and it really wrenches his shoulder to help turn him over. My other leg can actually be on the ground to help generate power. So we've got the two options just from there, first off. Now, if Tim's so tight, like he's really holding my hips in and he just doesn't want to let that go, there's more chance I can free the arm here. You know, so I might be working to get my right knee in, push that leg away, and get space to open that. Do you see how he might be holding his leg near the hip? My right leg can sometimes push, and I can yank through to finish. But another really, really good option, if we turn around, is to get a butterfly hook. So I'm in here, Tim's defending this, he doesn't let my leg go over the head, so I scoot away with my hips, and I get my butterfly hook. The butterfly hook is weak right now, so I'm going to scoot all the way flat on my back, like this. Now my right knee can bump him forward, and I can lift with this hook at the same time. Or once I got his hips forward. We take him over, and we've got lots of Kimura finishes once we've taken him over to here. Standard one being come over the top, up, and finish the Kimura from there. To help get your butterfly hook, you really want to not to be able to follow your legs that well. So if I can use any sort of hook here like this, just to try to stop Tim tracking my hips too well, so follow my left leg, follow this leg. I can use that just to keep him away a little bit, get the hook, and then I can come back underneath. Now stay really low, Tim, so now he's not letting me elevate him. The right leg coming under, bumping forward is good. I can also come back around now. I can also use the butterfly hook to sweep this way and jump over the other side. I can go like this, and then I don't want to land on this side, so I'm going to jump over the other side with the Kimura grip if we sweep that way. Tim gets outside the legs. So Tim passes like this, okay? Now, because he's really low, if I keep a lot of upward pressure, like I talked about before, I can often keep this shoulder down, walk underneath him and push up, and I'll actually tip him over. He's got no base on this side because his arm's trapped. So I walk, bridge, I can often take him over with that. But Tim might posture up once he gets outside the legs. So he might get outside the legs and posture up. So lift your head up. Yeah, like this, okay? One really good option here is actually to spin all the way out the other side. So I extend my arms, I pendulum my legs, and I want to end up on this side, like this. Now, really common mistake. This way. And I'll take that same grip. So I've just spun around the other side. Really common mistake is to try to arm bar from here, okay? If I try to swing my leg over, posture up and free your elbow, very hard to control that. I don't have the right posture. So when I'm here, I actually want to swing my head out behind me and jump over to the other side. Okay, now we're back to our original finishing position. We're here, Tim goes outside the legs, postures up. I want to spin, come up, take my head out the other side and jump over the top. Okay. Now that my foot's on the hip, I can start yanking out or coming back for the arm lock here like this for the finish. Far armbar can be a real dangerous thing for you, especially if someone's particularly long, like Mr. Craig Jones, who's put me off using this Kimura a little bit because he's very good at taking the far armbar from there. Basically, when he starts to, if I stay on my right side and Tim starts to step over for the armbar, I'm in a lot of trouble here. Okay, he's gonna finish that almost certainly. I can't finish the Kimura, so I have to try to track him and elevate those hips. Generally, the more my arm's through, the worse this is gonna be for me. So the more I can keep my elbow back and Tim's shoulder in front of my chest, the harder it's gonna be for him to work that armbar. So from here, because I'm pulling my elbows tight, like pulling Tim's shoulder down to me and lifting his hips, when he goes for it, I'm gonna start turning on the other side, and this is gonna force him over down to be able to actually take his back. But if I don't have all of those things ticked, my elbows are flared, I'm a little bit too deep, Tim can step over, spin through, and I'm on my right side still, I'm in a lot of trouble. So actually, if you're still on your side, you see them, they're coming around, and you're too late, just bail, start thinking about armbar defense. Don't stick on it. But it allows me to take Tim's weight on his left leg. I'm thinking Jeremy because of the leg locks. Very likely scenario here. So I'm just gonna roll straight for the knee this time, turn on my side, and bring Jeremy forward like this. Okay, really try and knock him forward so his hands are on the, I said Jeremy again. Knock him forward so his hands are on the mat. And we're gonna push away, technical stand up, and finish from there. The less useful his cross face is. So if Tim's really low, so this time this time Tim gets a deep underhook. Sometimes Jeremy will okay, and lift, and I'm reaching for this ankle. Okay, because when I get his knees together, Jeremy's in a lot of trouble. I'm on the ankle now. Jeremy. Why am I doing this? It's like I've had a stroke or something. I don't remember your name.
I think you might have done.
Shoulder the hips. I can just keep my legs together if I want as well. Come up and really tie Jeremy, Tim up. Yes. Aim is to free my right leg. So I'm gonna keep both hands together, try and pull Tim's knee to the ground with the underhook. Do that fast now. Okay, cool. Here.
Did you do the John Wayne sweep then? Oh, yeah.
Sure. Yeah, it just didn't work that well. The Choi bar. That one's definitely making the cut.
Yeah.
All right, cool. I do the same motion again, but now I've got a good underhook without having to deal with the crossface. We'll keep that one.
Yeah.
Nose.
No, it's mine.
Sorry, you're right.
Yeah. I prefer that than calling me Tom.
Yeah, occasionally I was.
Yeah, you done it a second time.
Yeah. Cool.
Alright, so this roll, when it actually starts, when Liv stops focusing on Rob with the camera, is between myself and Chris. Now Chris is actually the guy that filmed this DVD. It's a good roll because I get to use my half guard a lot, and he gives me some really good problems. Obviously he's a little heavier, probably stronger than me as well, and he likes to pass nice and low on his knees, which is quite a common scenario. So let's have a look. Okay, let's just go back to that part at first. Alright, let's have a look at everything here. Okay, so something I didn't talk about too much, but basically as soon as someone engages with their hands, I often like to get grips on the back of the triceps here. This basically stops Chris from pulling himself away. So it means like when he tries to pull away, his legs have to come forward, which gives me a chance to attach into the half guard. So let's have a look. I pull in, and that allows me to get my legs attached, and I'm now into the half guard position. You see my bottom leg came through and hooked, and I pulled his knee towards me, and I've already got my knee shield in place here. At this stage, I haven't got a frame with my right hand, so he has a potential to get like an underhook with his left hand, but the thing is my knee shield's there, so the underhook won't be that strong. I can always push away against it and re-pummel that if he goes for that underhook. Without that knee shield there, I would be in a lot of trouble for that underhook. Okay, but now as I get my knee shield in, I can then frame off like I normally would in our knee shield position. Okay, immediately I've gone for the underhook. Notice, again, really important, when you go for your underhook, I'll just go back a fraction, that I keep my knee shield in as I reach for the underhook. So I've got my right leg in place and I go for the underhook while I've still got my right leg here blocking the shoulder. This stops Chris from being able to re-pummel too easily because my leg is still blocking that arm. Alright, now Chris, he's staying really low on back. I can already sense that it's going to be hard to get around the corner to trap his leg. I'm actually going to go for a butterfly sweep, and one of the reasons why I feel like a butterfly sweep is appropriate is I've also here, he's underhooked this side, but I've got control of that tricep, so I can potentially stop him from posting with this right arm of his here. So let's have a look. There you go. I've threaded my butterfly hook in. I do show this technique on the DVD series. Check the underhook section for when you're having trouble getting the leg. And I've got a chance at the sweep. I get him over, but he actually manages to turn to his knees and recover. Oh no, he doesn't. Okay, I got the back. Cool. In this training, I basically said, let's start from my guard. You try to pass. I want to try and work my sweeps. Okay, so here we are again. I've now got my knee shield again. Good frame on this top shoulder. Notice I do prefer this high knee shield as opposed to a low knee shield, a lot of the time anyway. Alright, so Chris has tried to get inside that space on that leg now, and he's gone underneath. But as long as my knee's still in front, it's still performing the same duty that I want. Okay, I just don't want my knee over the top of his shoulder, then he can really pressure me with that arm. This is worse, okay? Now I went for that, right now I'm in the middle of going for that shoulder drag. Wasn't effective enough to go and take his back from there, but it's enough that, so if you watch my, as he goes underneath, my leg's now deep, but he's quite committed with that shoulder. I've reached over the top of the shoulder now, so I'm gripping over the shoulder here with my right arm. I'm going to kick with my right leg out, and I'm going to pull with my arm towards me. That can work to a back take. I do show like how you can go towards the back from there, but it also, in this scenario, it just basically removes Chris from that position. So we go like that, and now I'm just back to my regular knee shield. Back to having a frame underhook. Okay, good. Chris, if you notice here, Chris keeps pummeling this right arm to try to get the near side underhook, which some people like to do. It's really dangerous if you let them get a body lock with that. So just watch his right arm. I'm blocking it, and he's going for the near side underhook. Okay, so I have to pummel my own underhook sometimes just to stop him getting control of the body like that, and I obviously hiding my head there to stop him flattening me out with the crossface. Now, Chris has the crossface. He has the crossface. It's not the end of the world for me if he has the crossface and I'm on my side, because I'm waiting. You can see my right knee. I do this a lot. I try and get my right knee behind the hips here. I actually want Chris to drive into the crossface. If he brings his weight forward to try to flatten me out, I'm going to knee him in the butt and force him to post on the mat. That may not happen in this roll, but that's what I often look for when they go for the crossface. I'll either sit up into it or even just being on my side like that, and I try and get around the corner so that this knee's behind the butt. that really works against their pressure to flatten you out. So I don't actually, as much as I don't want to be cross-faced, I don't find it to be the end of the world. And notice my underhook is high to prevent right now, because I feel like if Chris was able to bring his head down towards my hips on this side, he would be able to apply a really effective crossface. Having a high underhook really stops him from crossing the body like that. Alright, so he's going for the head, and he's going back to backing out here like this. I'm looking for that butterfly sweep again like before, but that may not be available. Really trying to get that right knee behind the hips and bump him forward. There we go, good. And that's allowed me to attach onto the leg. Okay, let's have a look at that, because that was really important. That gave me a chance to go for my sweep. My right leg is going to bump Chris's hips. I want forward, but even out to the side is enough, and it gives me access to the leg. If you look now, there's no way, because of how he's hiding his left leg there really well, there's no way my right leg here would actually be able to catch that foot. Okay, but when I do my bump, okay, now that I've bumped him out here, there's room for this right leg to come over and catch that leg. That's all I needed, okay? And I immediately start trying to put that lateral pressure on the knee. Chris is smart, he starts trying to lift the knee up off the ground. If he kept it on the ground, it would have been much harder for me. Alright, and here we are. Pressure on the leg, I start trying to get up. Alright, and I tried to roll underneath there. So he actually drove back into me quite a bit. So I'm here, I drag the leg. Chris does give me a lot of problems when I'm trying to get up, mainly because he straightens that leg and he kind of keeps it in this position where I'm not sure. It makes it difficult for me to decide if I want to get up or if I want to roll underneath, and you see me work back and forth between those quite a bit. So here you can see the knee's not on the, if it's on the ground, definitely I get up. I could potentially go for a single leg as well, but it's not quite high enough for that. And I get enough twist of the knee that I feel like I could roll underneath. So just here, he's driving into me a bit. I feel like I could do the roll under sweep. I'm holding this leg, but he manages to straighten as I roll. So I've actually lost a little bit of ground here. I grab the far leg, pulling that in, and I'm working to get back up. Okay, yeah, that's nice. That's a little detail I do there. I don't think I taught that in the in the actual series, but it's a good one. It's very similar to just gripping the leg, but sometimes when I reach down, I like to connect my hands together. It just makes the grip really strong. So you see I'm holding this leg, and I'm going to connect both hands together. The bad thing about this is really that it's hard for me to get up, because I can't get up on my arm to get up. Often if it's really difficult to get up, I'll let go of any sort of leg grip and get up on that elbow. I bring it above my head to get up. But here, I'm connecting my hands together. So it's harder for me to get up, but it is a really nice control. So if I do get up, Chris has such a narrow base because I've got both of his legs. So it's one of those things where it's a greater reward if you do get up like this, but it's more difficult to achieve that. Okay, so I abandoned that grip because I didn't feel like I'd be able to get up. Alright, Chris is going for the back step. And let's see what happens first. I think I've gone for the reverse half sweep, and I ended up in half guard on the other side. Alright, so I failed that. So I think it's important for you to see, throughout a lot of this, I'm actually missing a lot of the things I go for. I try them, but they all link. So anytime I miss one, it gives me a chance to just continue, and eventually they just need to slip up once, and that's how you get your sweep. And it's the same with, if anyone has seen my chokes DVD, it's the same thing. If you try to just rely on one technique, it's quite defendable, but when you've got multiple attacks that you just keep pressing, eventually something's going to work. So you really need to be linking your attacks and not just trying to focus on one thing. Alright, so Chris, sensing that I'm probably going to get up here, goes for the back step. I try to pummel this my right hook in. I think I missed that, so I actually have to pummel my left foot first. Yeah, so I missed my right foot from being able to hook Chris's leg. But the important thing here, look at me staying on my side. I really do not want Chris's hips coming over to this side of my body, and in fact that's why I ended up losing this whole position, is that he eventually did, and I still had a chance at the sweep, but I really don't want Chris's hips out on this side. So I'm trying to get up on this elbow to keep him in front of me, and it's really hard. He's starting to tilt his hips over, but in that little moment, it did allow me to start to pummel my left foot underneath to get a hook there. Okay, and I immediately lift that up. Now, the risk here, because I'm right down near the ankle, there's a risk that Chris frees his knee, I think is what actually ends up happening, so he's able to re-establish his base. I would much rather have that hook a little closer to the knee. That's why if I have the time to, I prefer to hook my right leg first and then get my left hook much higher here. But we are in this position, and now once I got that hook, I'm able to roll a little bit to my back now. It's a bit safer once I can elevate his foot to go to my back. I would ideally reach my left hand under the leg and be able to get up, but I'm actually a little trapped because he's come over to this side and he's a little bit on my arm. I'm going to struggle to get up. So I try anyway. Chris is starting to hip escape. I try to get up, and as I said before, now he's freeing his knee because I didn't control that knee. That's why I want that hook near the knee, not near the ankle. That's why I missed that sweep. But that actually gives me a grip on this leg, and as he recovers, I'm now got my left underhook's going to come through here. So I'm basically switching sides. This is actually my better half guard side that I'm on now. I do play a lot on both sides. I think it is good to develop the skills on both sides. But now this is actually my favoured half guard side with the left underhook. Chris goes for the guillotine. I start to get up. Okay, so if I'm up here and he's got the guillotine, I'm pretty confident I'm not going to get choked because I'm on the good side of his leg. Alright, but he actually does a nice Uchimata here, I think. This is one of the things we need to watch out for. So I've got the dogfight. I'm posting on my hand, as I should, and I just didn't post enough. And I get knocked back over. Alright, let's have a look at that. Posting on my hand here. Alright, so two things that would have made this not happen. You got to read it. I always knew it was a risk, but I just didn't quite calibrate the risk enough. My hips, my weight's a little too far forward, so he gets a chance to kick up into my hips and elevate them over the top of my post here. So my post was a little forward, my hips were a little lower. This would not have happened. So he's elevated my hips, and I'm going to go over the top of my post. Yeah, so anytime you get caught with something, okay, now I know that Chris likes to do the Uchimata. So the next time you end up in that position, you have to be ready and make those little adjustments that are going to make that harder for him to get it. I actually tried to land back into a reverse half guard, but just missed. If you watch that, if you watch my legs here, I'm pushing the leg. I try to get my hook underneath, hoping we land in the reverse half guard with that elevation sweep, but I missed that. And here we are, back to my underhook again. Okay, back on my least preferred side, but that's okay. I've managed to trap his foot now. This is great. So I've got a good chance at getting up. Good. Now he's making it hard, even though I've got the foot, he's making it really hard to apply twisting pressure to the knee. So you notice a little fiddle there with my legs to try to extend his foot out. So it's quite hard because he's kept it close to his hips. Hard for me to get the twist right now. So I kind of like use my legs a little, even like something like a lockdown, just to extend his feet away a bit. Gives me a larger lever to work with. So here we are. Good. I keep it out a bit more so I can try to hook properly with my right leg. Yes, there we are. Good. Alright, I'm back underneath the far leg, connecting my hands in that together like we did before. Yes, good. Okay, and I've got a good chance of getting up here. But he's really adamant at straightening and turning that knee. I really like to do this on top as well. Chris is excellent at that. It's making it difficult for me to get up. And then I switch to the single. And I finally get the sweep. Alright, so that was a tough battle that I went through there to get this sweep. So let's just quickly break that down. I cover this quite a bit in this series because I think this is one of the most common problems. Here I have good angle. What Chris is going to do is he can't just turn his knee out over the top. He's going to straighten his leg a little bit, like that. And then he's got ability, once the leg's straight, I can't control the rotation, so he starts trying to bring his knee across the top of my hip now. Like that, okay? Yes, good. Now, whenever this happens, like I show, I try to like wedge with my right leg to wedge that knee back down, preferably controlling the ankle here. This is on my less preferred half guard side, so I might not be as good at it, but I definitely do this a lot on the other side, but we'll see if I get this to happen. Even that action, so see here, my knee, I'm trying to twist his knee in, even as I try to get up. So my leg's gone towards the ankle, and my other thigh is catching the knee, really trying to like drive the knee this way and the foot that way to turn the knee. But Chris did a good job to knock me down. Here's that same action, so I would be trying to force the knee back down onto my left side. I don't want it on the other side of my body. Trying to force that, I can't. And in that scramble, and this is one of the techniques I show. So if he had a really good whizzer, I wouldn't be able to switch to this single leg. But you can see he's not controlling my arm from going down towards the knee. If he was controlling like near the elbow, I wouldn't be able to do this, but he's controlling more at the armpit where I can actually change. Okay, so now as I go to get up, I notice that I can't because his knee's in the middle, and I'm just going to switch my right arm to the single leg, and that's what's going to finish. Here we are. Again, single leg, inside knee, near the ankle, perfect. Good positioning. I don't have to stand up to finish because he's already basically in position to get him down. Alright, here we get to see a bit of reverse De La Riva. So let's see why I did that. That's because Chris stood up, right? So this time he's standing. I've pulled him in. I'm hooking this. I'm looking for the reverse De La Riva already. It's obviously a really good control to get. My left foot's gone to the hip. This is great positioning. He's tried to knee cut straight through that, but I managed to catch it. Okay. Now immediately, because of the angle of his shin, I feel like the grip on the heel is pretty good. I could potentially go for the underhook one as well, but I do really like this heel grip. It stops them from sprawling back, whereas the underhooking the shin one still allows them to step backwards, which can make it difficult. So I go under the heel, and I'm already spinning. I'm already on the way to spinning, so I come out the back, feed it. So I've got like a crab ride position here, and I think I used the lockdown here, that far side lockdown in a moment. So Chris is basing really well, and so if you check that sort of back step revert, oh no, I just come up. Okay, cool. So there's another sweep. This time Chris looks like he's staying low on his knees, and I'm in my preferred side half guard. Okay, I've sat up, got the underhook. Again, my head's in position. Because he's so low and back, you have to put your head out here. It's hard to keep your head in the middle and get an underhook. My preference is get the underhook, then deal with the fact that they can go for the crossface using the things we talked about earlier. So I get up and I want to push into him, because when I push into him, it lets me like get a deeper underhook. Yeah, there we go. So notice that by getting up on my arm, so we go here, I got an underhook. It's pretty shallow. When I get up onto my hand, it doesn't deepen then, but as we go back, as he drives me back, it lets me actually get a deeper underhook than what it is here. Okay, there we go. This is a better underhook now. Oh, had a chance at the butterfly sweep and I missed. Okay, so let's have a look at that once more. Up with the underhook. I go for the butterfly sweep and I miss. Okay, now I'm on half guard on the other side. Underhook. Scoot around the corner. Really important to get around the corner. Watch that once more, because I think a lot of people, when they first start especially, they miss this. Underhook. Foot goes to the mat and we scoot around the corner. We don't want to be front on in front of them. There we go. Good. Now I got much more of an angle to work my game. I've got the leg. Yes, good. Excellent. This is one of my favorite ways to get up when it's difficult. I can't get up the normal way, so I'm going to bring my left elbow above my head and sprawl, really curling the right leg as a hook. So you'll see I've got his leg trapped just with my right leg as my left leg gets out. But Chris, very good with that Uchimata. As I was getting up, he timed it well. So I get to just here. I'm already like, he's got such good, you can see he's got my shoulder lower than his. This is makes the Uchimata hard to defend. So I want to actually get his shoulder lower than mine if possible. And he's going to be able to tilt me over. So obviously I can try to do the roll under sweep as he does that, but unfortunately I didn't have enough purchase on the leg as that happened. But I've still got my underhook, so don't lose that. Okay, here's that scissor. Right leg chopping into his knee, trying to turn it back into the middle. I've got my underhook, which is great, and bottom leg catching the ankle. I want that knee back down on the inside. There we go. Good. Excellent. And now straight away I start trying to curl back and get that pressure on the knee. I might be able to get that's where I want the roll under sweep. Not happening. Okay, cool. There we are. Good. Going down towards that single leg again. Change my mind as he resists. Oh, I'm going to go for Jedi Mind Trick. Oh, this is nice. Okay, good. It's giving me trouble with that sweep, but I eventually get him. Okay, now let's go back and analyze that. A few things happened there. So actually what gets him here, I try to pull him back for the Jedi mind trick. So we're now actually, what happens, see his knees free? His knees free here. So we're actually in that, the stuff we cover in the underhook, knee cut sort of position. So I've got the underhook, he's in like a knee cut. So there's like the back step, Jedi mind trick sort of scenario, reverse half guard scenario. And I'm going to go for the Jedi mind trick. So I start trying to bring my right hook to the far leg here. And as he senses that, he drops back away. Yes. Okay, this is great for me. He's gone to back step. I anticipated it. If he kept going with this, I'm either going to sweep him because he's holding on, or I'm going to take his back if he posts. So instead, he drops back with his weight away, but that lets me come up. That momentum let me come up. But you can see as I've got up, my left leg's caught here. So I've got no base out to my left. So he's probably going to tilt me back over, which he does with his Uchimata again, which is a really tough thing to deal with, as you're seeing. But this time, I managed to get up. Again, using that knee twist pressure. But I'm now on my base here, and because of the position I'm in, Chris has very poor ability to rebalance here. See his legs straight? I'm basically like levering his hip down towards the mat, and he's going to go over. So this is a really good one because Chris gives me a lot of trouble, but I have to deal with things and react and start to anticipate his responses. Okay, again we're going into the knee shield. I don't have half guard yet. Now you'll see this a little bit as a common theme, and I do say this, but be more focused on having your frames than actually hooking their leg. So I don't have his leg hooked, but I'm focusing on keeping my left knee in front, trying to get my forearm in front of his head so I can make the distance, and then the hook can come from there with my leg. So I still don't have the half guard. I'm going to find a way to get my right leg back in, but I still mostly focus on the frames. There we are, easy. Now I got my half guard. Sit up, underhook. This process of underhooking, trying to roll back. Each time I go back down and then back up again, so every time I go down and back up, one of my aims is just to get a little deeper with this underhook. So I get up on my elbow, I can start to reach a bit deeper. Yes, there we are. See how my underhook's coming through further now? Nice little expression on my face. Alright, good. And now I've got deep enough and far enough around the corner that I'm starting to try to trap this leg again. No doubt Chris will straighten his leg or go for the knee cut like he's done before. And I might have a good chance at he's going for the... okay, so he's back stepped before I had a chance to get my full position in. So as I've gone for this, he's driven through. I want my top leg to anticipate the back step and actually catch this top leg, but I'm going to miss that. Okay, so this time, again, I want to keep his hips from landing on the other side. I get my hook. Yes, left foot hooks. And he's posted on the mat. Look at my right hand, trying to help assist here so that make sure my head pops out the back. And this is going to let me do the Jedi mind trick. I think this is the second variation I show, where we've got the hook here. Obviously, I prefer to catch this leg. Second option's catch this leg. As we do. And then I bring his hips back in front, come up, into a leg drag. Fantastic sweep. Oh yes. Alright, so Chris is going for a really fast knee through. So it's even before I've even caught an underhook, he's already attacking his knee through, and on that left side. So he's diving through. I get the underhook. And actually, I don't even have his leg trapped yet, and don't be too concerned about that. If you're like in line with their body, like this, with your knee behind their hips, so see I'm keeping his hips up so that he can't close off the distance between his hips and his leg. This should be easy for my left hand to come and grab this leg and push it back into the half guard. I'm actually going to have a really good half guard position. So even though he's technically sort of in a side control, it wouldn't be enough to be points at this stage. It's actually a really good position for me to recover to a good half guard. There we go. I grab the leg and I feed it back. Okay, now I've got a good position to start my underhook sweep. I'll grab the far leg. Try the roll under sweep again. He's quite well balanced against that. So he's given me a lot of trouble getting that roll under sweep in this roll. Working lower down the legs. So you can see, like, positioning wise, I'm really low on Chris's legs here. It's hard for his arms to get any good control of my body because he's so high relative to me. This is what one of the things we're aiming for. We want to be low around the corner, but not so low that you actually lose the leg that you're attacking. Again, I've locked my hands together. I don't think I do this as much on my better side of half guard, but this particular roll I seem to have been forced to play my left side at a half guard a lot. Actually, I do use them probably evenly, these days, but I do think my right side is better. Okay, here's the Jedi Mind trick again that I slightly missed, but it's given me enough chance to come up on top. So Chris tried to backstep out of that to stop me getting up. Watch here. So I'm starting to get a really good angle to come up. He backsteps. My top leg caught him this time, but he did actually get his hips over. But I was able to start to sit up as that happened, underhook the leg, and come up on top. Alright, Chris went for that knee through again. Notice, again, he goes for that knee through. I don't really change too much in my frames because I got both hands and this top leg in. When he went for the knee through, it just let me keep position. Okay, got my underhook again through the knee shield. Drag the leg, starting to come up. There's one little thing I did there you might want to look at. Just I thought there was a chance. I'm a little loose on the leg here. It's possible he starts to free his leg. So I'm actually just I just cup that leg with my right hand sometimes if I feel like that's a little loose. If there's a chance he pulls that away, it just makes it. The thing is, just like we were talking about before, it makes it hard for me to get up when my hands focused on the leg. Oh wait, sorry, no, that's not even me. I sometimes do cup that leg. Sorry, that was Chris's hand. Never mind there. He was gripping his own leg, trying to apply pressure. Alright, he's going for the back step again. Again, I've missed with my top hook. So you won't always catch that top hook with the Jedi Mind trick, especially if you're focusing on getting up from the half guard where we actually need this knee down. We won't be able to anticipate it as easy. I tried to catch it, I missed, so I'm going to start looking for my top leg to catch this bottom leg. Oh no, I've gone with my other leg first. Again, this is not bad, the hook's somewhat near the knee. It's not too low towards the ankle. So basically what I don't want is this knee to be able to free and get to the other side. So at least my hook's somewhat close to the knee, even though my ankle's pretty low. I've got some pressure near the knee stopping that from dropping. So I think I've got a good chance here. Or maybe this is the one where I do the far side lockdown, which is one of the variants that you will see the technique for. So I shoot my legs over. Good, yeah, I got that lockdown. You can't really see it, but my feet are in the lockdown position. So I can just extend my feet away, get up on my hands, and I should win this battle to get up. Good. Alright, we're almost there. This will be a long clip. I hope the audio is working. Alright, so Chris actually did a good job at almost passing there, and I've managed to sprawl to my knees and get back up. Now I've got to watch the front headlock. Usually once we escape the front headlock, we can get back to going towards half guard. Yes, good. Alright, so I escape. I'm sitting up and shin to shin, back step, and back take. Okay, so actually this is tricky. I didn't show this. This is a weird mixing between a couple of things that you would have learnt already. So this time Chris's knees in the middle. He's standing. His knees in the middle. So basically I go for sit-up guard. He's driving me back. I can't get around the corner. Of course, what do? I go to shin on shin. So I scoot back and get my post on the mat, to help scoot my butt back if I need it. My left foot's coming through, and that's going to get shin to shin. Immediately I try to elevate and get to single X. Now, Chris is going to backstep, but actually when you've got the shin to shin and they backstep, that gives us the exact same leg positioning as when he's backstepped my half guard and I got my bottom hook. So if I can force his foot a little bit this way, you'll see what I try to bring his leg back over this side of my body a bit, but try to still keep my right leg in. There we go, good. So now it's back over that side. We're now actually in the end stages of the second variation of the Jedi mind trick that I showed. Okay, which lets me come up. I keep that. See, okay, so Chris wants my leg. If he gets my foot out, he's got a chance at a leg lock here. So I have to keep this hook nice and tight here. Good look of confusion on Chris's face. He wants the guillotine maybe, but I don't think it'll happen from there. Alright, I think we do one more last sequence, I think. So again, I do like to play this seated butterfly position first when we start our rolls. Alright, Chris attacks that knee through again. I focus on my frames. I don't give up too much of my positioning if I feel like it's good. Alright, so then I'm going to work with my frames. Oh, I'm going to go for a choi bar here. And that was enough to get him reacting. Okay, so now again, I've got my bottom hook. Chris is underneath this leg. He's actually got this one pretty deep. I think I'll probably go for that John Wayne style counter to when they've underhooked the leg. So we'll see. Yes, good. I try to tilt him over. Even if it doesn't work, the reaction will often let me start to get better positioning. Oh no, it didn't in that case. He managed to hold on nice and tight. So I'm in a little more trouble now. Now I'm focusing on pushing. I really don't want his head to come down on this side of my body because his over-under pass will be really strong. So I'm going to try and push his head away. Okay, and as he resists that, it gives me another chance at this John Wayne sweep. So, because basically, I want him to overcommit his weight that way. So I push his head a lot, and then as he commits in, I try to tilt him. Okay, it didn't sweep him, but it did make him react and sort of post his hand on the mat, and that gave me a chance to sit back up and recover. So see that? His weight's going over. He's going to have to like pull this arm out and kind of lean backwards away. So now he's got no pressure on me, no ability to maintain that over-under position. Okay, and I'm back up. Now the guy's nearly running into us. Alright, so there's underhook again. This time he's under the leg with the underhook. Oh no, time's run out. Alright, so this is a roll between myself and a brown belt in this particular video when it was filmed, but he's actually now a black belt. His name is Misha. And basically, similar to one of the previous ones, it's basically me starting from guard. If I manage to get the sweep, we will reset. So here we are. Actually, I might just turn the volume off from that so it's just my voice. Alright. Alright, so I'll have a look at that sequence and then I'll talk through it. So initially, Mish is standing, and the way he enters, so he's going for his grips. He leads with mostly with his leg first. So he's basically, some people go with this. They're inviting you to get a grip on the legs, but he might use his arms to drive me back. So for whatever reason, I'm not able to keep going forward and get to the sit-up guard, but I'm already looking at this reverse De La Riva hook here like this. Okay. Now, just quickly, what I do, because I want to get back to the seated guard, you just see I give him a little push away from me. Again, I talk about bumping forward in this series, but also just pushing away. So you can see now there's nothing blocking my access to this knee out on this side. He's kind of stretched quite far. Even if he tried to underhook, it wouldn't be a great underhook, okay? Especially as he's trying to clear that foot there. My hands come up, and I'm going to get good positioning. Now, basically what's happened there, as I get the seated guard position, Mish is starting to drive his knee not into me. He's not trying to drive me flat, but down towards the ground, which means he's probably going to backstep. So you have to kind of like preempt this when you feel that. After you've had this happen to you a lot of times, you know their next move is going to be a backstep. So he's going to put that knee down and try and swing this left leg here back over the top. And so when I know that, I'm basically looking for the Jedi mind trick pretty early. I'm going to use my leg, maybe slightly different to how I taught it, and I actually do sometimes do this, so it's a good one to analyze. But instead of hooking with the knee on the outside and the foot on the inside, I'll actually hook with the knee on the inside and foot on the outside, just to block that back step early if I can. Oh no, I don't even do that, but it is something that I do maybe in one of the other clips. So alright, let's have a look at that again. I push Mish away, come up, get the seated guard. I try to bump, I'm trying to bump him forward with this right leg, which is part of it, kind of forcing that Jedi mind trick. And now I go straight to the hip. So now I'm in a really good spot. He's too far forward, he has to backstep, and I catch. Now this is something, if you just watch a little bit, I probably barely move, but you see I put my bottom leg on the ground and I hip away as well, because I don't want his hips to land on this side of my body. So if I can use that as like a little hip escape as I do this, it's very minor there, but often that will be more pronounced. It stops his hips from going over to this side of my body if I can hip away. So now I've caught with my knee on the outside, foot on the inside, and that's going to give me a chance to go towards the back. My head's popped out the back, and from now on it's basically me trying to chase Mish's back. And so we're now actually sort of in a similar position we end with the Berimbolo. Mish does a good job of actually reversing it, so he might have a chance to. In my back here, you can see he's trying to lift my hips up to attack my back. And I come up on top though. Now I could have stopped here. Mish decided to keep chasing my back, but I've actually got better angle here, which allows me to then go back and attack his again. And now I've got the twister hook. There's a good chance I finish from there. Alright, next one. Let's have a watch of it and then we'll go through it. From that, the initial entry, so Mish actually goes outside my legs. Again, when I'm here, I mostly focus on maintaining good frames. Yes, my right arm's in. I've probably got my left knee on the front of the hip, I imagine. So similar to the knee shield position, even though I don't have great control with that bottom leg. It's stopping Mish from getting great. Yeah, so my knee, as you could have seen for a moment there, if we go back one frame, if that's possible. You can see my knee there is pushing away, making space, as well as my right arm. My left hand's trying to sort of guide and feel where this leg's going to go, so I can get a good chance to catch it when I get a chance. And Mish comes back in, and I basically just get enough room from this using my frames. I get enough chance to now hook a reverse Talahiva hook. I kick away again and go straight to that same seated sit-up guard, and went straight for the single leg. Mish managed to sort of do some weird roll to get out of that one. It's quite acrobatic, Mish. Alright, again, we'll go on reverse Talahiva. Oh, I should have said, Mish really likes to pass to his right, which is, again, not to my preferred half guard side, although you'd probably think that given the amount of times I have to play it. I guess a lot of people prefer to try to pass my guard on that side. So now I've got the underhook, and I'm trying to... So I've got the underhook, he's standing, but even though I got the underhook, I'm trying to force that knee back down to the inside. But Mish is underhook, so now there's no way my knee is going to push onto his knee. So I'm going to switch here, I believe, to the waiter sweep. I'll go back to the underhook. Underhooking the leg means it's hard for me to use any sort of standard underhook sweep. So I am going to swing my legs out and try to catch the waiter sweep. There we are. Good. And Mish leans away a little bit, enough room to get the X guard. I get up, and again he slipped. Okay, so here's a mistake I made. I talk about this. I say you got to hold the knee, and actually I was holding the knee, but just not as tight as I need it. So you see I'm holding the kneecap there. It needs to be above the knee because people try to run away exactly like Mish did. So that needs to be tight. Okay, here it's okay, but my fingers are probably starting to slip a little bit, so it just wasn't quite tight enough, especially as you get up, and there we go, I lost it. Okay, so probably actually two things would have helped there. If we go back to that near the finish position, if I was pushing down more a bit, like I almost want to use that wedge to pull my knee or lever the knee back towards me and still holding onto the kneecap as well, and that will stop that foot from slipping. So I think as his foot slips off my shoulder here, and I lose the positioning. So you have to be tight with that. You don't want to do all that work to get to a position like that and lose the sweep. Alright, again I've wedged his knee to the, using that wedge, or levering that knee to the inside. I've got my underhook, trying to force that that sort of knee cut underhook position so I can go for the Jedi mind trick. It's definitely one of my favorite things. Mish tried to get the knee out and I tried to force it back in, and that's allowed. He's gone again. It allowed me to go for the single leg. And do I finish this one? No, I go on to the dogfight now. So alright, let's have a look at that position. I had the single leg. Mish's foot is on the outside. I go for the sweep. I can probably have a chance to dive at a double leg here, which I was a bit late to do. I probably should have gone for that instead of the hip grip actually. But going to the hip grip, we're now in the dogfight. So let's have a look at how I get through this. Alright, pressure into that leg, trying to pull this leg up onto the hip like I talk about in one of the techniques. You can see Mish is trying to free his leg, so I have to really, like, as he starts to free it, I really collapse forward. That makes it, see the angle on his knee. This is a lot of pressure actually on Mish's knee. He's just sort of fighting that, which might not be the best idea. He's still trying to face me while his knee's going this way. The best thing is actually to turn away, to relieve pressure on the knees, to turn away. But this is going to let me to grab onto the leg, and Mish tried to spin out that way now. So he tried to go with the pressure, and spinning I think lets me get onto the hips and chase him down. So I think a lot of this, like, I show you how I think it should look, but when you see him in actual reality, it's not always as clean as how I show it as just the technique. So often I'm doing some mixing of the techniques that I show, because they defend one, like you go for the other. There's a lot of random events that can occur, so you do have to like train a lot of these things a lot, and get proficient, and then you start to see them opening up from different areas. Alright, so again he's going for the arm underneath, and I've got the underhook. So last time I went for the waiter sweep from here. This time I've gone for that shoulder drag, and that's cleared the grip. So that's really good. That shoulder drag that we do, that again, it's another example of me applying a move that I taught from the knee shield, but this time we're actually in reverse de la Riva. He's standing, but I'm going to do the same movement because I know that's a good way to get rid of that arm. So I'm going to reach over the top of the shoulder, pull, and kick, and we do like I think I call it a shoulder drag. Here we are, kick, pull, and even though it doesn't cause a sweep, it's made him let go of that grip. Alright, now I'm back in for the underhook, and Mish has backed away, so I've gone to seated guard. Okay, I'm really, so you can see, particularly on this side, a lot of the time when I get the seated guard, obviously I could have tried to chase the single leg, but I'm trying to force his knee down onto this side of my body, into that underhook half guard Jedi mind trick position. Okay, and probably, okay, he's resisted that by stepping forward. So how does Mish stop me bringing him forward? He steps forward. Now let's go back. So he can't stop me bringing him forward with his leg here. He has to step really far forward to stop that momentum. Okay, and there we are. Good. So that now gives me access to that leg, and we switch to the modified X guard and get up with that. Hopefully I hold on to him this time. Come on. Alright, so here's a bit more down. That's that pressure I was talking. Okay, good. And now I'm on the hips. Much better. tried to Toriander. Again, I get my frames in. I start to invert as he moves around a bit further. And again, I've got that leg. So he's given me that leg again by stepping in with his left leg. Driven me back, so his knees come in front. I'm using my knee again, trying to keep his hips from dropping low and trying to bump him forward. So my top leg is often working like that. Okay, so I even used my other foot on the ground there to get a bit of power. Have a look at that. So my top leg's trying to bump. My left foot will go on the ground to kind of assist that right leg in bumping. Watch this. There we go. Good. Okay. Mish feels that bump, and often he'll try to backstep, especially once I get this underhook. I've gone for my Jedi Mind trick. I think I'm a bit late here. There's a good chance that Mish is going to land on the other. Oh no, kept him in front. Good. And another chance to chase the back or get the sweep. Alright. This time I managed to get the single leg, and Mish has gone for the Kimura. Now notice just my head positioning made it next to impossible to get the Kimura, so this is what I usually aim for. And I talk about this. If your head's in good position, they won't, unless they've got extremely long arms, this is not going to loop all the way through and grip onto the wrist. Okay, if my head was out of the equation, yeah, Mish could get that. So I still got my head in front, blocking that. Okay. And often that will land me on top, but this time Mish manages to get back up. I now got my preferred side half guard. Or it's sort of like a mix between seated guard and reverse De La Riva. But I've kicked him forward, and it looks like I'm going to get the modified X guard position here. So I'm under this far leg now. Oh, and I use that to go back to the Jedi Mind trick. Something pretty tricky there. Okay, let's have a look at that. That's a cool sequence actually. So there's the reverse, sort of like the seated reverse De La Riva. Seated, I kick him forward from the seated guard because he's really driving me back here like this. And of course, to respond, Mish has already stepped forward with that leg, trying to reduce the amount of forward momentum that occurs. So I've grabbed that leg. Alright, but then what I'm going to do, you see his knees in the middle, I'm going to keep this leg and force his knee back to this side. So it's basically forcing that that knee cut underhook position, except I'm also scooting quite low relative to Mish. So now you can see, as I go a bit further even, you can see I'm in a position where his hands are too high to really get any good control, and I'm coming out the back. So I just give him a little bump in the hips, which are already high, and I'm going to look to get my left leg, my top leg, behind that thigh. Alright, so I just got to catch that. There we go. Good. Excellent. Let's just watch that again. Okay, and I just watch that again because it's subtle, but that hip escape with my bottom leg occurs there again as well. So watch this. When he goes to backstep, my bottom leg here will do a little hip escape too. There. Okay. It doesn't move me a lot, but little, 1 inch more movement, maybe Mish lands his hips on the other side of me. Okay. Now he's still in front. I get a much better chance of getting my hook, and we can follow him from something similar to a crab ride. I think he's going for a Kimura here, but it's not great positioning to get it. I think I eventually end up on the back. Yes. Alright, I think we just decided, I just asked him if we could do one starting from the waiter sweep position, so let's see what happens here. And Mish tried to re-bowler me there. It looks like a standard waiter sweep, but I think he actually did the momentum for me there. And all I do, I'm going to kick my leg through towards that bolo myself. So I'm going to kick that back through in front of the hip, even though we land down on the ground. So I'm going to kick through it. There we go. Okay, now I'm in my berimbolo, finishing berimbolo position, I hope. Oh, he's got his knee in a little bit, so it's going to make it a bit more tricky. So see his knees popped through that gap. It did for a moment. I pushed it back. Okay, so back in position again. And I'm going to look to stomp those feet down close to the hips here. Both my feet down here, I hope. Oh no, he's going the other way, so I'm going to go towards mount. Oh, here's the... He's not quite giving me a chance to use the stomp, but I end up on top. Alright, I think the rest is like some other specific training that we do. Okay, so this roll, I am rolling with Kit, and I wanted to show this particular roll because Kit, we've obviously trained together for a long time. He knows my game really well, and he's going to be someone that you'll actually get to see me use a lot of the defensive side of this against, because he's a very good guard passing. I think he does pass me once in this particular series as well, but you get to see a lot of the stuff that I talk about defensive wise that you don't always get to see me use when I'm on the offense. Okay, so let's have a look. Obviously I try to get my attacks going as well, but you really will get to see how all these techniques link together, because as one thing, you'll see me try something and Kit defending it really well, and how that can try to lead to something else, and so on. So immediately I've pulled into the half guard. I've got my bottom hook here. Again, a really common problem a mistake people make is they bring their hips too close. You'll see I got my hips far away and my top leg high, blocking that shoulder. Now Kit, what he likes to do is keep this low posture, low and back. He knows that this makes it very difficult for me to bring him forward and use that underhook. And he often will try to flick his inside foot towards the outside, but we'll see where it goes here. The other thing he's already done is he's got control of this hand, which I know he knows that even if I get the underhook, but he's got control of that hand, it's going to be a rough day for me to actually get any sort of sweep. So let's just have a look at that. So we've gone into position. Immediately, actually, Kit's looking for control of that arm. So he's already holding my elbow here. He actually posts for a moment. I tried to grip his wrist, but he beat me to it. Yeah, so you see, I tried to get his wrist, but he managed to win that grip fight. I go for the underhook anyway, and I try to put my head in front of the shoulder to try to free that arm, but it's not on the ideal angle for me. So actually I would rather have because he's stretched it out far, it's actually hard for me to break that grip. That's the worst place that I can actually have that arm put, and Kit knows that obviously. If it was a bit closer, I'd be able to get my head right to the elbow and pull back, but I have to go to the shoulder. I can't really get out towards the elbow, and I don't have good leverage to pull my elbow back. But let's see what happens here. Alright, a couple of things Kit's doing there. Alright, first, have a look at it. He's really good at changing to different postures, Kit. You can see he's turned his hips away, so he's basically making it hard for me to keep control of this top knee. Yeah, I'm trying to keep that knee wedging pressure that is required to get up, but when he turns his hips like this, it makes it really hard for me to keep control of that leg. Now that he's got his posture like this, there's more of a gap for him to pummel his own underhook or to pummel his foot outside the legs. You'll see him try to do a shin flick in a moment. Watch his right leg, his top leg. We might have even missed. There we go. So he attempted to kick out of the legs. I sort of felt that one coming, and I was able to keep control of the leg. He's still pinning this wrist though. I'm trying to use my head here to try to get that back, but I really want to get up on my elbow. It's hard to get up on the elbow because of the angle he's got my hand at. So this is very frustrating for me, but on the positive, I do have an underhook here, which is saving me a lot. If Kit was able to pummel his own underhook here, I'd be in a lot of trouble. So he's again working that. He's trying to open my legs, get room to start kicking his leg out and freeing his leg. He's staying close to my hips, making it difficult for me to move. Alright, so here, actually Kit's made it. I've somehow, from the position, he's a little bit high up on me now. You can see none of his arms have control. Let's see how that actually happened. Yeah, so I just started to, because he started to come forward a bit, I started to lift my legs up a little bit, and it's made him actually let go to post, and now he's lost his upper body control here, but he's still got good pressure with his chest over my body, so it's not so easy for me to just get up and use my underhook here. But I'm working with a high underhook, trying to stop him regaining control of that arm, and trying to get out on my side, onto my right hand side. Now I'm trying to invert through. So because he's gone so far, you can basically do a full spin underneath and get to a leg entanglement. So let's have a look at that. Because he's so far forward, I'm spinning under, I'm trying to kick him forward. This is similar to a tornado sweep, and it can allow me to get into a leg entanglement, which we're actually almost in. Kit's underhooked my leg, which prevents me Like I want to be able to lock my feet together, because he's underhooked that leg. That's going to be difficult for me to get. I had a chance at coming up here, but Kit's got control on that leg, which is stopping that. I don't even know what this position is. It's quite odd. I don't think either of us are used to whatever's going on here. I'm sitting up. Okay, so now Kit's basically in like a low switch based side control, but not really so low that I wouldn't say it's side control. Here I've got a chance at sprawling out, trying to get to my knees, so I might sprawl with my right leg to try to come out, or hip bump over the top. Missed that, but it let me get my guard back. Okay, back to the knee shield. Okay, sorry, I didn't mean to go forward there. Where are we? No, this is way forward. Sorry. Back to the knee shield here. I don't quite have my bottom hook. Okay, so now I've got my knee shield. I kick up in the air, so I'm obviously looking to get an underhook here. Let's see. Kick up, underhook. Good. So remember guys, open that space as much as you can with that kick upwards. Alright. Kit, I think, is about to try and flick his leg out. See this hook here? I haven't quite hooked his calf, and there's a little gap if he brings his leg to the right to swing it over the top. Let's see if he does that. Yes. He tried, actually, but I managed to just catch it. But that was a big danger. If he had got that, he would have been much closer to being outside my legs. He's gone back into his switch base again, so that same positioning that he liked to use before. Again, you can see here, it gives him a better chance to repummel the underhook, and also because he's got that switch base, he can use his hand to push free his knee from any grips I have with my legs. So it is a nice position to use. It's not that commonly used from when people have underhook from half guard, but it is effective. Alright, and here he is underhooking. Now his knee's free. Okay, so he's freed his knee from in between my legs. This is not great for me. And he's gone outside the legs. Okay, so Kit's outside the legs. What's saving me here? My left elbow. I've still got my frames, right? So my left arm is still framing his head away, and my left leg is framing his body away as well. So even though he's outside my legs, he's going to have a tough time to actually consolidate the pass here. So I try to keep those frames. I'm lifting my hips up just to keep that knee attached. I don't want to put my feet on the ground and try and hip escape. That's actually going to let him get more control of me. So I'm trying to keep my leg attached to him. And now I've managed to get my other leg in, so it's that extra frame. My head's moving away. This is good. I've got a good chance at recovering. Like so. Okay. Okay, so don't even have my half guard, but I've got my frame. So everything's in place. All my limbs are framing well, just not my right leg in the half guard yet. Let's see if I find room for that. I talked about this a little bit, but don't shoot your leg too far. I wouldn't shoot at it here. What that would do would open up a gap for Kit to pass in. Instead, I would rather wait for him to move in a little bit to catch that leg. I hope I don't eat my own words here. So see how I'm happy to try to catch his leg, but I always maintain my knee close to my body. Okay, he's pushing on that knee, trying to actually open my foot out here. That will open space to pass into. So again, don't extend your leg away from your body. Don't bring your knee away from your body, trying to catch that foot. Keep your knee close, and you can dangle this part of your foot out. That's fine, as long as this gap here between your knee and your chest stays tight. And because he got his hand there, he has actually forced that space open. This is not good for me. He's controlling this frame as well with his hand. He's got a much higher chance at passing now, and that's led him to something similar to an over-under. Let's just watch that once more. So he's changed and gripped my shin. So this is going to make it difficult for me to frame with that leg now. And he uses his left hand to push my leg open too. Let's watch that. So he's timing here. Me on the bottom, I'm trying to pull that arm. I'm actually looking for a choi bar here. You see I'm underneath the shoulder. I'm hoping to get my leg over his head. Why is that not going to work? Well, at least how does Kit know that's happening? He's keeping his head in tight. But there was a chance, because I'm framing, there's a chance that if I freed my leg a little bit, I'd get over the head, and I'd have a chance at getting at the choy bar. So my top arm is framing, bottom arm is hooking the shoulder there. So again, look in the choy bar section of the knee shield. It's a move I use quite a lot. Also, if you want to watch my match against AJ Eggersarm at the No-Gi Worlds, I had a nice choy bar that I just slipped out of just at the end. Okay. Let's just have a look at that bit. So he's gone under my leg now, so he ended up underneath my leg, and I'm going to do that little John Wayne sweep thing that I do to get rid of that grip. So just watch this. I stomp my feet, and it's really off balance, Kit. So this can be a sweep. You can actually sometimes sweep them over with this, but it's enough to make him post on the mat. And we're back now, but I'm still back on the defense. I haven't quite got my guard back for a while yet, as in something where I've actually got a hook of that inside leg. So it's been a lot of defense in this last little bit. Okay, now I've got some good positioning. Now I've actually got an offensive position. I've got the seated guard. I'm not around the corner though, so I'm not going to be able to sit up for the sit-up sweep. Remember, I want to get my right knee, which you can't see at the moment, attached to this ankle, so I'd have to scoot quite far around to get to that. Probably, given his knees bent, I've got much more chance of going shin to shin. Kit is excellent at stopping this. We've been training together for a good 8 years now, so we know each other's game very well. And he's pummeled a deep underhook. Okay, but I still think I get a chance at going for it. So I keep my head under the chin, and I got my shin to shin now, and I'm going to really try to pull. So you can see I've already got the momentum. I'm falling back, really wanting to pull Kit's weight forward so he can't be so heavy on his legs. If he's standing up like that, no way I lift the legs. I need to get his hands like forward on the mat. There we go. Okay, now his hands on the mat, his legs light, and I've actually, even though he's got the underhook, so it's somewhat dangerous, I've got a chance at going shin to shin. Kit is very good at this, so this would be a really good battle to see. Okay, have a look at his other leg come in, and a hook in front of my leg there. But I've managed to pull through, but it's not going to be perfect. Okay, so I've come up, and Kit comes over the top with his other leg to catch in front of my leg. So even though I'm catching his leg, I don't really get he knows that I want my left foot to end up on the hip, but now that's being blocked. So I have to struggle to try to free that, and as I'm trying to free my left foot, he's now trying to pummel his left foot back. Oh, he almost got it. So I'm holding, trying to pull that knee back in, and he managed to get back across. This is not good for me. Now he's in a knee cut. So he had the underhook to begin with. Really nice move by Kit, and he's got control of my bottom arm. I think he might. This might be the part where he does pass. Yep. Very good. So I got the underhook, but I don't have. When I get the underhook here like this, I want to bump Kit forward here, but he's gonna. You watch. He grabs onto my leg. Okay. So now, even though I've got power to bring forward with the underhook, he can resist that by gripping onto my leg. It's a great counter to the forward bump from the underhook. Alright, so let's watch that sequence again, because that was pretty cool. It's a really nice counter. Actually, just the fact that I'm studying this video lets me see what he's done there. So using that other leg to hook in front has allowed him to then re-pummel his right leg back over. He's got his knee, if you just watch that right arm, he's got his underhook already. So when he comes back with that leg, he's in a great spot to knee cut. Here we are. So he's already got the underhook, knees coming across, and all he needs now, I'm pushing with that arm. I want to get, ideally here, my left hand pushes his head up, but it's too low already. He's going to grab my elbow, which really stops me getting on my side too. Yeah, now I can't turn on my right side. See, that elbow is stopping me turning to escape. So really nice work by Kit there. Alright, we go again. Kit goes for the knee cut. Okay, I'm going to do the nice little arm drag there, just briefly. So you see I'm controlling the wrist. control his wrist. I'm blocking the other arm, and I've got a chance to arm drag and then go to the seated guard. Okay, good, excellent. Now I'm in. I got the leg and I got the arm. This is great positioning for me. Usually I'll try to like kick Kit forward because he's like reasonably well balanced. I try to kick him forward, turn the corner, and get up for a seated guard single leg. So I'm trying to get around. Even now, I'm trying to get my right knee to the leg to try and get the single leg. It is hard to get these on Kit. So he knows for me to get up for the single leg, I usually have to post on my right arm. So he's going to control my right elbow. Have a look at this. A lot of his focus is on that elbow, trying to stop me getting up. So I'm going to switch now to modified X guard, and Kit counters that. Let's have a look at that again. I get to the position for modified X guard. I'm under the leg. I'm trying to turn on to face the camera here, but Kit manages to free. I didn't quite have a good enough grip on that leg. He's kicked off, and I'm back up to my seated guard, shin to shin. Alright, let's see how I deal with his counter this time. Okay, this time he's gone straight for the knee cut. He hasn't done his shin flick that he did before because I didn't get quite over the top. And he's really deep. This is one bit that I talk about in the DVD, but like he's really deep through. I'm just hanging on. So if I tried to kick my foot up, I'd actually just lose his whole foot, especially because he's relaxed with his foot. And that would actually just give him the knee cut. So I'm going to try to stick this hook, and I'm going to try to get my position a little better. So oh no, I've lost it. I know. I'm going to post on my elbow, keep hold of the shin here, scoot back, and I get my shin under better. Okay, so now it's a better hook than it was before. Before it was like right on the end of the foot. Now it's actually near the ankle. He's got the underhook again, so we're in a very similar situation to before. My head's under the chin, really important, guys. I lean back with that fast motion to try to bring him forward. Okay, Kit tries to switch off this time. He tries to like back step, and I'm going to try to follow him and get into position. Okay. So we end up in a very strange position. I've almost actually got the saddle on this leg. Because his leg's straight, he's actually stopping me curling my left knee in to lock that up. And I'm a little low on the leg, so even if I lock the triangle, the chance of actually getting a leg lock here would be low. I really want my right leg up high. I actually want my knee out, so my knee's kind of inside between both legs. I actually want it out, but my foot in. So it's a very odd position to land in, as what happens when you've been rolling with someone for a long enough time. You find these weird positions, and this is no different to that. Okay, and from that scramble I've managed to come up on top, gripping onto the hip. Lost that scramble somehow. I should have got that sweep, but I didn't. Now Kit's under the leg. Alright, again, he's under the leg. I'm trying to push his head away. Or pry it up. You know, generally up is good, or away from you. Either way on them is going to be good. But he doesn't commit his weight a lot. You know, he doesn't like drive in too much with this. He really likes to stay here, often try to flick his shins out so he gets outside the legs from there, but maintaining a tight control with the upper body. It's different to a lot of over-unders you'll see. There we go. There's our John Wayne sweep. That really made Kit lose his position. Here we go. This is one of my preferred wrestling moves, but I missed it. Alright, just watch that last little bit again. So actually, I've come up into the dogfight on the bottom. So as I do the John Wayne, I try to get up. So you see it's actually the same position as if Kit was in guard and he's come up with the underhook. Like this, so he's got the leg and the underhook, and I've got the overhook. Kit tries to limp arm, but I actually catch the forearm and I try to apply pressure with my shoulder to his shoulder to try and turn his shoulder down towards the mat, but he manages to spin out of that. Alright, anyway, that was a fun roll. Hope you enjoyed that, guys. I'm going to narrate a roll I had with Brad. Brad is a brown belt that trains with us, and this roll, before I start, I'll just pause it. You get to see Brad definitely stands quite tall and leads with his leg a lot with passing. So you get to see me playing a lot more of the seated guard, some reverse De La Riva as well, but he tends not to go down onto his knees as much. But you definitely see he leads a lot with his leg and steps in, so you get to see how I'm dealing with that. Alright, so even then we're straight into it. So basically in this role, in this session, I basically said start with me and guard. If I manage to get a sweep or a submission, or if you pass, then we just stop and reset and go again. It's because I want to work this part of my game. Alright, so you see Brad initially, very early on, his first grip is, he does get his hand grips, so he's got his hands attached, and he steps in. I'm immediately going to reverse De La Riva here. I probably could have been a bit more aggressive and gone for the leg for the seated guard, but I've got my reverse De La Riva grips. My frame here stops Brad from closing the gap for the crossface, and I've gone straight for that heel grip. I've already elevated him here, tilted him forward so his hand's on the mat, so I've got a good chance at spinning underneath here, which I do. Alright, slightly odd position we ended up in there from that invert. Looks like I'm going to attack his leg. He's escaping, and I managed to come on top. So probably just from that sequence, probably the main thing would be just looking at using that heel grip to bring Brad forward. Let's see. So notice I go for the heel grip, my left hand's underneath, will be under this arm, and I pull him forward to get his hands to post. Then I know I can spin under. So it's an easy spin to the back from there. And you'll see he put that knee down as well, which means I had to spin under just the one leg, which probably is one of the reasons why we ended in a bit of an awkward spot. Alright, so next one. Alright, Brad. So again, Brad's stepped in with his leg there first, so that's just allowed me to go to single X position. Alright, I won't talk too much about single X. It is a position I play a lot, but probably not necessarily what we covered too much of in this instructional. If we go back, we just look at that initial thing. How did I end up there? Brad actually tried to step off my shin to shin, but it went straight to the single X. So this is one pass people often try to do. Sometimes they flick their foot to the outside. If they're going to do that, they really want to hope their left hand controls my right leg to stop me from getting this leg in for the single X. But I don't think Brad controlled that too well here. So let's see. So when he steps over, it's actually, he hasn't controlled this leg. I'm actually controlling his arm, which means I should be able to just shoot my hips up straight in position. Yep. Here we are. Alright. And from there, we get the sweep. Alright. Next one. Okay, so Brad stepped in again. I've gone for the seated guard, and he's going to be tilting me back. Okay, so as soon as I feel he's tilting me back, I don't have my shin to shin, so I'm going to go to reverse De La Riva and probably try and bump him forward, or I think in this case I grab the heel and go for the spin under. Okay, so I get my left foot. Really important, get that top leg in position, because that's what, if things are going wrong, you can always make distance with that leg. Okay, that's really important, more so than actually getting this hook at first. I'll find that in a moment. I think there we go. Cool. And he's already elevated, and I've already got that heel. So this, now I can, if he goes in too heavy, I can push away with my leg. If he tries to back away, I'm actually holding his leg, so he can't step backwards. So he's kind of committed to this position here. Hand goes onto the mat because I'm tilting him forward with this grip. I'm reaching to the far armpit, and I'm going to be able to spin underneath, almost certain. Oh no, back up to the single leg. Now that's a nice one that I like to do. So see how Brad's gone to control this leg. This can, it's like when I spin under, this leg has to be able to kind of spin through this gap. If he blocks that leg well, that can stop my spin. But usually he has to sort of put a lot of force pushing down. So I just swing back up into the single leg and get a side-on angle. This is definitely one of the techniques I've shown in the series. Boom. So see how I've landed side on to the knee. Very difficult for Brad to drive me back down here. So I'll come up, good head positioning. See up here, very hard for Brad to get the guillotine. If it was too low here, he'd have my head already. So I'm up, still keeping that head nice and high, and run the pipe, and we get the finish. Alright, go back. Right, this one, Brad steps in again. This time I've gone shin to shin. So if you look at his knee angle, he's giving me enough space here to shoot my left foot under for a shin to shin. There we are. Good. So from here, I'll often start to fall to the side. So I fall a little to my right side, and I'm turning his foot out. Okay, so this is great positioning. I'm going to get to single X here almost certainly. Yep. Alright, and out to the outside leg position, into the saddle for the heel hook. Alright, again, Brad stepped in, same sort of grip. This time he's going for the guillotine. So let's have a look at that. Because this is something that, you obviously if you play this game, you're going to come across people who have good guillotine attacks, and you do not want to get caught too often. You will get caught a lot at first. But so notice where my head is. It is forward at the moment because I'm trying to keep tight on the leg, but that makes it vulnerable. So he's actually going to look to feed my head with his right hand to his left hand to catch the guillotine. Okay. Now notice here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually focus, I pull away a little bit and keep my head nice and high. So from this position, Brad could get a hold of my neck, but he would have to really dive, which means he really risks giving up good position by going for the neck. If he has to dive, it's much more risky for him than just a standard attack. And because I've got control of both of his legs right now, if he goes for the choke and dives, I really get to, if I'm doing what should happen, I have control of the legs, so I should be able to come up in a position relative to the legs that makes the guillotine very hard to finish. So I'm probably actually going to come up near past the guard, or potentially in the correct side of half guard. So it's going to be difficult for Brad to finish. So you see he has actually committed over the top, but my head's still up, and I'll start to fall back here. So he's going to have to decide, once I feel that, I'm going to fall back. He's got to decide, does he keep holding on because I got both his legs? Again, I probably should win this position, or does he let go? So I start falling back, he decides to let go. He'd rather stay on top than chase the choke. Okay, and then as soon as his hands are on the mat, I swing, use that pendulum motion with my legs to swing to get side on to the leg. Okay, so let's have a look at that. Just once more. So watch my legs swing up and kick down. Okay, that lets me, I didn't get quite as side on as I like. Push him up and I go for it again. So always trying to do that, always bringing forward and back. Now I'm side onto the leg, up again with a single leg, run the pipe again. There's our single leg takedown. So very common theme, get their hands on the mat, lift your legs up, swing and come up for the single leg. Alright, here we get the double leg trap. Alright, one of my favorite techniques to go towards the back. Looking to get that, once I got that twister hook, Brad's in a bit of trouble here. Alright, so let's go over that now. Double leg trap. So it basically allows you to get to the Jedi mind trick. So he steps in, both feet are pretty close together. See, his knees are close together. I'm just going to grab around both legs and try to now. Okay, so real risk that you pull them straight onto mount. Okay, I definitely don't want, if I just fall to my back and the knees are flared, this is no good. So I have to make sure, as I move forward back a little bit, my elbows have got to lock together to get his knees together. Let's see. There we go. Okay, so now, and my knees are assisting as well, trying to stop his knees flaring out. So definitely can go wrong with this, but when it works well, it works amazingly well. Okay, so now his knees are together, and I basically lock up what's like a half guard, and it kind of forces, he has to pretty much put both hands on the mat because he's got no base with his legs. And I'm going to start working my right foot to hook behind this far leg as I pop my head out. So I'm going to grab the hip, sorry. Good. And it's like the Jedi mind trick. Let's just go back to that. So I'm going to grab the hip. I'm still holding his knee, and I just want to make room for my right foot to hook as my head pops out the back, ideally as well. Actually, he's stopped my head going out. I use my other hand to assist just to make sure I get good positioning with my legs. Okay, I've got my hook. It's not as good as I'd like, but at least it seems to be doing the job. Okay, Brad's trying to turn in, but this hook is preventing him while I start reaching for the far arm. So if you imagine a hook on one side and control the opposite, so a diagonal sort of control there, it means it's hard for Brad to turn left or right. Okay, so now this one's come over. So I'm over the leg. That stops. If Brad wanted to turn to his left, he couldn't. But I need this shoulder, because he could actually keep turning this left shoulder down towards the ground, and there's nothing stopping him right now unless my hand here is able to block him. So actually now I've gone to the hip because I missed that arm, so I'm holding his hip now to try to stop him turning. See that hip? He did turn, but at least that pulls me up as he turns. I scoot away, and now I'm going to have good control. Okay, so now that I got this, hard for Brad to turn left or right because I got this hook and the opposite side of the body there, so I get the back or the finish. Alright, he's going to lead him with his leg again. I had a word to Brad about this afterwards. Actually, I was saying to him, he wants to get really on top. You want to get your head probably on the same line as me. He's letting me win the head battle most of the time, so it's hard to fight with your hands if your head's not like in the game, preventing those grip fights. So if his head was at the same level as mine, he could hand fight much better, because I have to worry about where his head's going. But right now I don't have to care about his head at all. It's my head and my arms and my legs versus just his arms and his legs. Alright, so again I've got good control on the leg for the seated guard. Brad's going to flick off again. I think I will end up in sit-up guard again. I'm holding this leg this time. Double leg control again. This time I've come up holding that far leg. So if I get up here, this will be a nice takedown. A variant on the underhook sweep where I'm controlling the far leg. Alright, next one. Okay, I asked him if we could start from the knee shield position, just so we could have a look at some different stuff. You can see I'm framing well. Brad's trying to get... Okay, so just have a look, because I do lose... Because of where Brad's going with his right arm. Alright, let's see. So I have my knee flared quite a lot. When he's trying to get inside, he's trying to use his right arm, he will in a moment, try to use his right arm to push my leg out to his right or to my left. Let's watch this. And I'm going to change my knee shield positioning a little bit. Okay, so now you see my knee shield's a bit lower. Okay, it's not quite on the shoulder now. I'm trying to block him from flaring out. If I put my knee shield on the shoulder now, he would actually win that battle and flare my leg out. I still want it blocking him, so I'm now collapsing in closer to the elbow when that occurs. And he's trying to win this hand battle. We're hand fighting here. Alright, now he's punched the hand to the ground. It's not a weave. He's not around my leg into the ground. He's just punched his hand to the ground there. So that's given me the arm drag, I think. Yes. Okay. So just here, Brad's hands to the ground, but he doesn't have any stability on this side, in the right side of his body. If I can just get my right hand to that shoulder, that's going to let me do the arm drag. There we go. And straight to the single leg because he's standing up and leaning away. And we've got the takedown. Right, we start from knee shield again. Again, he's gone for the similar thing. He's a bit more onto the arm drag that time. Let's just see again. So he has gone. It looks like I've just reached to go for the arm drag here. He punched his hand down again. So ideally, guys, on top, if you're going to punch your hand to the hip, you would want to go around the shin and then through. Okay, so it's more like a weave. Here, I think is a little risky to do that because you don't nothing stabilizing this side. So I go for the arm drag. He pulls back. All right. I'm looking for the choi bar here now. Come over, controlling the shoulder. Good positioning, but I'm losing the elbow. Okay, so as soon as that's one thing you can do. When you lose the choi bar, if they stand up to posture out, then you're straight onto the leg. Get into the leg entanglement. You will have upgraded your position, almost certainly. So here, Brad's straightening his leg. I can't quite get the knee bar because his knee's lower than my hip, so I'm going to have to try to get up on top or do something else. What do I go for the heel hook here? Okay. Yes, looks like. So this one, I got the underhook, I reached for the leg, Brad has stood up. And one thing that's important, I think, is that I don't try to fully get up until I know I've got like good, or I really want to get good curl of the leg. So just pause here. I want to curl this left leg back and heavy with my hips and make sure I got good control of this leg. Brad, I think, actually does try to free his leg out of this. And if you don't have a good curl on that leg, like hips down, curling back, it's much easier for them to free it when you actually get up. So you see there, like having his foot pointed in the air is going to be much harder for him to pull that leg free when I get up, as opposed to having the foot on the ground and if he was sitting up a bit more. Okay, so from here, when I get up, Brad's still going to start trying to free that knee. So he has tried to free the knee, and it's going to force me to change and react. I managed to just reach for the single leg, and I got the single leg here like this. Now in this position, Brad wants to circle so that he wants to keep circling until he's like in like almost like a north-south with a sprawl. So I have to keep trying to circle around. I want to keep circling around this way, and ideally I would step my left leg over this leg so that he can't circle anymore. Now I'm like more in line with him with my head, and I can go towards like the dogfight, then the back. Okay, but he stood up. Okay, so Brad has stood up, and now we're into our regular single leg. Foot's on the outside, so I'm probably going to try and pull the knee nice and high and posture up. Let's see. Yes, good. Okay, so see how I really lean back with this? So there's not too much effort on my lower back. If you stay forward trying to hold it up, it's quite heavy and hard to maintain. And now I'm trying to free my arm to grab his head and do the trip. And Brad's turned, and I've chased to his back. Alright. I'm going to start from the knee shield again. Brad's controlling my top arm, so I'm using reverse telehiva. I've grabbed the heel grip and I've spun underneath. Tried to go for a leg entanglement, but he's blocking my entry there into something similar to a calf crusher, back to a leg entanglement. Yeah, so this is a little bit of a scramble. I managed to chase him up and get on top. Whenever you can, guys, like with any leg entanglement, if it's not working, my suggestion, come up on top. Don't just rely on sitting back playing guard and going for a leg attack, and if it doesn't work, go back again. Like, yes, that can be effective, but you'll, especially if you're competing a lot, you'll lose a lot of matches if you're not actually trying to progress your jiu-jitsu through bottom, top, control, position, finish. Alright, so here's another time I've managed to force Brad's knee, and let's have a look at that, because he did straighten his leg, if I just saw that a moment ago. Okay, so his leg's straight. This is not easy to get the full leg curl, so I will do that scissor action, I think. Oh, so I've blocked, even just with my foot there, I've blocked his ankle, and then my top thigh is going to like push down. It might be hard to see. Imagine my knees going down towards the ground, just on the bottom there, to force his knee on the inside. Hip away. There we go. Okay, I've forced the knee down, and now I've got access to the leg curl. Yes, good. Which lets me try to get up. I don't have it quite as good. Like, I want my hips in a bit more, or a better curl. Like, I want to almost have my hips over the top of the back of his knee. That would be ideal. Let's see if I get that. So this is a bit better, but I'm still not great on the leg there. Okay, and Brad's decided to free his leg, and I'm pulling his hips back now to force this back step. And Jedi mind trick. So watch that. As soon as he tried to free his knee, so Brad's decided to try to like kick his leg out. And watch my left arm, it will give it a little pull there. Yes, that's forced him to the back step, and I've ended up on the back with the hooks. Alright, hope you enjoyed, guys. Alright, so this is a roll between myself and a purple belt student of mine. His name is Matt. He's really good. Obviously he's a bit taller than me, and one thing to look for in this, he's very good with his sort of anaconda dast choke variations, so I look out for how he attacks them and how I try to defend that as well in this roll. So let's go back to the start. So this first sequence, I get my underhook. It's underhook from the knee cut, so we're in our knee cut underhook position, and And a very common thing is they're going to try to backstep from here because it's hard to pass through there while I have the underhook. So really common response is to try to backstep, and there we go. And you see I tried to catch the Jedi mind trick as he's backstepping there. My right leg here is going to hook this top leg, so I'm hoping to catch the back as he does this. As I went to hook, he stepped back over. He realized that wasn't going to work, so he was going to be in a bad position, so he stepped back over. Now as he gets the momentum, see how I'm flat on my back, as he rolls over to get his weight back, I'm going to roll up as well to wait for it, there we go, and I get back up on my side, up with the underhook, so I'm in good position. But Matty's, you can see his hand, his left hand's dug through. He's already starting to think about going for the choke here. So he pushed my head down. I managed to block that at first, and I forced it up to the dogfight position. Okay, let's have a look at how that happened again. So we'll go back. Alright, so I just sprawled out on my leg and we're up to the dogfight. I tried to limp arm there, it didn't work, and Matty's rolled for a leg lock, which has allowed me to come on top. I just have to free my knee, and here we are on top. Okay, so let's have a look at that once more. So we're here. I drive in, and I'm going to try to do a limp arm with this right arm. I drive, and I felt that it wasn't going to happen, so I go back to my control. Okay, now Matt's quite forward, so he's not in the best position. He's deciding to roll through and try and attack my inside leg for a leg lock. As he does that, I know the inside heel hook's going to be the main attack he wants here, so I'm already turning my hips to face down towards the ground, which is going to make it really hard for him to dig the heel out. And at the same time, I'm pushing on his leg. You can't see it from this angle, but I'm going to free my knee from behind his leg. There we go. Okay, so see my knees now come out from the leg. Once my knee's free, there's no leg lock. So I've secured top position here. Now we're just going to look at the first part of this this roll, because I do get to use some of my half guard there. The rest I think I'm mostly on top. I tried to spin under. I will talk a little bit. It's obviously not a passing DVD. Hopefully I can do one of them at some point in the future. It's an area I've focused on a lot in my game. I tried to roll under to gain a better position. Alright, actually let's just skip forward to when I use half guard next. Here I am working some pressure with passing, kicking outside the legs with the body lock. Oh, I'm back in the guard. Okay, actually this is something, you'll probably get to see something here, something a little different, but Matty's really flexible. He's actually quite good with his like omoplata and triangle setups and potentially go-go plata as well from here. The main thing I focus on here when I'm passing is trying to square the hips back up. If I can force Matty's hips to be, so see how he's a little bit on his right side, he gets much more range with this leg because of that. So once I step over the top of this leg, which I haven't yet, my left leg will step over his right knee, which is just poking out there. Once I do that, I will try to square, okay, now I have, I'm going to try and square his hips back up. So see I'm starting to walk to my right, putting his hips more square. You can see he'll probably lose, I don't actually know what happens here, but he'll probably lose a lot of ability to use that leg and let go. So let's see, trying to square him up, obviously not wanting my head to get pushed up, so I'm keeping my head buried and trying to square the hips up. Okay, so see that there, he's starting to let go of the leg because it's just not comfortable. So he has to really stretch. Actually had someone a couple of weeks ago injure their leg because they kept trying to pull their foot further across even though the range was getting really minimal. Okay, so see how I've squared his hips up, decided to let go because that's difficult, and I've blocked the leg, so it puts me in the half guard position ready to pass. So now I've got knee cut. Anyway, let's move on because it's not a passing series you're watching. Although here's me going for my chokes. Don't forget to check out my chokes DVD. Alright. Do I get that one? I better show you just the finish. Yeah, we're going for my anaconda. Cool. Alright, so after this I'm going to end up playing guard again. I think there's one or two more times you get to see me working from guard. go on reverse De La Riva, straight to spin underneath. And that's let me shoot through into an inside heel hook. Okay, let's have a look at that again. So look at the positioning. Alright, Matty's hand, he's pushing me back, so it's going to be hard for me. There's no way I'm going to engage into a good like single X or seated guard position like that as he's standing and he's pushing my shoulders back. So I'm going to fall back, lock the reverse De La Riva, and straight away I'm reaching for the heel grip, I think. Yes, I got the heel grip. I've got his hands on the mat. So I've already spun underneath, and Matty's leant away, so I won't be able to catch that far leg, so I'm just spinning underneath the near leg. This is one of the techniques I show in the series. Okay, so spun under the near leg. What I'm going to do, I keep my left foot here. I'm going to take my right leg through the gap, and that's going to allow me to shoot my hips over the top. And then I got to keep his, so both hands are keeping his leg steady. I'm going to roll my hips all the way over to the other side, like that. Okay, now we're in the saddle. Okay, now we've got the saddle. I've already got the heel hook in place, and it's a strong heel hook here because I can really, you can see where my hips are. I can push my hips into the knee while keeping this grip to get the finish. Alright, I think there's one more time that I play half guard here for this. Okay, so again, Matty's gone to my less preferred side. I've got a reverse De La Riva hook with the underhook again, so he's starting to put his knee down, so it's becoming more like that underhook knee cut position or something similar to that. It's a little bit of a mix between some of the positions we covered, and he's dived at my neck. He's actually connected his hands for a moment, but I managed to free that and start to work out my pressure for the underhook, and Matty has slipped his knee out, which was a very good counter. So let's look at that again. Alright, so I've got my underhook. Matty's got his hand fed through. He's going to dive for my neck. Alright, I think what I'm going to try to do is I'd be trying to posture and pull my head away to make the gap as large as possible, because he's got his hands connected right now. This can be dangerous. Okay, so by doing that, it's made him disconnect his hands. And I sometimes look for this body, see how I'm looking to connect my hands here? This body lock can often help me when I put pressure into his knee and drive, and I keep the body lock, it pulls his hips in close and can bring me towards the Jedi mind trick. But he's managed to go for the neck again before I body locked. Now here's me trying to force that knee. See my right leg and my left leg? So this left leg, this bottom leg, is going to push this way. My right leg's going to try and push the knee in to really twist his knee down towards the ground. That's what I want. There we go. Okay, so I forced the knee to the ground, and I've hooked pretty well with this right leg. This has helped me to try to come up. Holding this knee with my left leg, so we're now in the knee cut. I've got the underhook. He's in the knee cut position. We're in the knee cut underhook position. I don't want, actually it's not the end of the world if he frees his leg often, but he does manage to slide that leg out. So here's where I should be, because this underhook was not around his hips, he actually has a chance at sliding away and turning to like free himself from the grip. If I had a better underhook, if my underhook was more, if this underhook was attached to the far hip, which I didn't manage to get, it's too high, right? I should be at the hip, so when he slides away, I follow him around, which I didn't get to. Now I just come back up to like a regular guard. He's jived at my neck. I'm keeping my head up and applying a lot of pressure. If you look at that. So here I'm in a bit of danger. I try to come like kind of too high because it's hard for him to secure the choke. So I stay in this bridge, and now I can feel here I had pressure down on his shoulder. You can see his hands now going almost behind his back. So I know that if I put downward pressure with my arm and keep my head up, it's going to really loosen his ability to hold this grip. He's still managing to, and I go again. Okay, more downward pressure. This hopefully will make him slip that grip. Yes, okay. And now I've caught the arm and get a chance to come on top from that. Alright, I think that's about it from that roll. I hope you've enjoyed this series. Yeah. Cheers, guys. Alright, so we're going to have a look at some escapes. Escaping out of bad positions. So I'm here working with Jamie, who's a brown belt from our gym. He's known as one of the sweatiest people to roll with. But also he's got an amazing clamp. So when he squeezes his legs, you're really hard to like free himself once he gets like his clamp going. So anyway, we're starting with Jamie at the first position. As you can see, is crossface underhook. I'll go through some of my strategy. I think a lot of the time we focus a lot on attacks, but here we'll try and focus on defense and getting out of positions. And one of the things I want you to take note of, particularly throughout all these, is that I try to be particularly patient. You know, like often you're in a bad spot and therefore you don't have the leverage to create movement. You have to wait for them to move, and as they move, you're waiting for that to find the gap that they create. Okay, so let's have a look. So Jamie, first of all, Jamie's got crossface underhook, and the first thing to note with the pressure he's applying, he really is putting quite a lot of force across, like into the crossface. Like I think the go-to escape from here is to try to push the head away and do the frame escape. But because his head's like so far over and there's so much forward pressure, if I got the frame in here, it would really push, like if you can watch the arrow here, it would push more like out. I couldn't really get much force to actually push his head away into his neck. So I don't think it'd be that effective as a frame. But you can see every time I go to, so I keep trying to hip away to make a little bit of space and get him back on the right side of me. But as I do that, he keeps like following with his hips like that. Okay, so I go to hip escape and he moves along, and that might give me a chance to, you know, in a scenario like that where he's following me, I might go for something like a John Wayne sweep. So I could potentially put my feet down and lift my hips. I might even give that a go. Okay, I did try that a little bit. It obviously was unsuccessful. I was hoping to make him post, but if you just look at that again, I made his leg there lift with that John Wayne pressure just there. You can see my hips are elevated. I'm bridging, and at the same time I've like caught his knee so he can't post out with that knee. I was really hoping if I tilted him a tiny bit more than that, he would have had to post out with that hand, because he can't post with this leg. This hand would have went wide and that would have given me an underhook, but he just managed to keep it. So if you watch that again, it's very subtle, but here, yep, good, and I missed. Oh, I did get an underhook anyway. It was enough actually, so let's have a look at that again. Oh, hang on. Before that, so I didn't have the underhook, sorry. So he's got the underhook. I do my John Wayne, boom, and that just made him post a little bit, enough to get my hand fed through. Now he's across my body, so my underhook stays high. Remember, I don't want to go towards the hip yet. He'll be able to repummel that really easy. I'm trying to bring Jamie's head in line with me here. And he's continually driving across now. Basically, he's trying to push I've managed to trap him in the half guard. He's trying to free his knee out here. That's a great way for him to reclaim the underhook if he does that. Because what's going to happen if Jamie frees his knee over this side, I have to use my left hand now, the one I've got the underhook with. I have to use that to start pushing that knee back. And then he can reclaim that underhook and he's back to, well, a really good spot. So I tried another John Wayne sweep there. I think he might have got his own underhook back for a moment, but I managed to get my own again with the John Wayne. Let's have a look at that actually, because I think actually Jamie's got somewhere he caught his underhook back, and I'm going to use another little John Wayne sweep just here. Good. And you see that made his hand come out for a moment to post, and I sucked my elbow in. Okay, so now my elbow's inside, and that becomes an underhook. So I've got my left underhook again. Alright, so I've got to take my time here, trying to get my escape going. Something that I think's undervalued, but actually just like trying to bump Jamie forward. So see, I've got my right knee right behind the butt, like lifting my hips in the air and my legs in the air, trying to get his weight forward. If I could, which unfortunately I didn't, but if I could get his shoulder off the top of from under my chin there, that would actually really give me a lot of space to get up. Look at that once more. My underhook, and I really lift my hips, trying to roll back, trying to find some angle to recover my guard here. Jamie's doing a good job. Alright, really good job at staying tight on the hips, because if I can bring him forward, that makes it easier for me to get out. So he's doing a great job there. Alright, so I've decided to switch to a butterfly hook. Alright, so as I'm trying to escape and Jamie keeps following, I'm realizing this is not working for me. The standard underhook escape, obviously I'd try to get on my side back to half guard, but that's not going to work. So I'm going to try and get my butterfly hook in and start to use that to try to elevate him. Okay, so generally the more forward someone's driving at you, the easier it's going to be to elevate their hips with the butterfly hook. The more back and tight they are on the butterfly hook, it's going to be hard to elevate them, but easier to sit yourself up with frames or get yourself up with an underhook. Okay, so I tried to lift with that butterfly hook. I'm pushing at the same time as you pull in. So there's 3 things that are really important to elevate for this butterfly hook. 1, I got the butterfly hook. I'm pushing upwards with my right hand here, and my right knee is bumping Jamie forward to try and get his weight more forward, so I can then elevate with this right hand and this left leg. Okay, so I try that and it almost works. Okay, see the knees behind the butt, bumping forward, and I'm trying to lift, but Jamie has a very smart counter to this, and this is actually how you counter that move. So I try to bump. Now I had really good positioning. Why didn't that work? Well, have a look at Jamie's right leg. I do this as well on top. We hook underneath, which stops them lifting our hips relative to ours. So I'm bridging and trying to lift, but he's actually hooked underneath my foot and attached his hips to mine. So it's going to render that escape ineffective. Again, see that? His own leg is keeping him attached. I made a bit of space, and actually what I did was I popped my head out the side as he posted. Okay, so now I've got good positioning. I'll go back to that in a moment. But now I'm actually out the side. Much harder for Jamie to control the position here. He lost his balance, so he was so focused on his leg positioning and keeping tight that he forgot about his post there. But let's just look at where I got that head out the other side. So I was trying to elevate with the butterfly hook, and because he was posting here like this, he's posting on the mat and he's really trying to keep this, but it's hard for him to keep good balance because that narrows his base. So I'm able to tuck my head out the back, and here we are. Alright, so that's part 1. Alright, so I get to start from crossface and underhook again. Lucky me. And again, Jamie's applying good pressure. This time I managed to get my elbow in as a good frame pretty early. So I'm actually underneath his head with my forearm. Notice this grip, again, really important. It's on the scapula. That gives my elbow strength. If you don't have your grip over there and you're trying to just push away, you're going to be weak. Other hand is on the hip, pushing up. And I managed to get my right leg in a fair bit, so this is already a really good start for me. How did I manage to do that? So let's have a look. Now notice I'm pushing at the knee, or near his knee, with my forearm and elbow, which is going to give me room. I'm on my right side, so my knee can come through this gap here. Yeah, as it starts to swing through, that's good. Now it comes up a little bit close to the hip. Now this isn't amazing position to recover from. I will see Jamie's probably got a good chance at defending that, so he's already pulling up on my arm, trying to remove that from the hip, which will then allow him to walk away from where that knee's caught. And obviously he's starting to drop his hip a little bit, trying to prevent that knee from coming through. So I'm on my side, blocking this arm. I probably shouldn't have allowed Tim to get that crossface, but I did. I was more focused on the leg. And he's again walking into me. So he's actually reclaimed that leg here. Where did he get that back? I was focusing on what I was doing. It's actually quite a while ago. So he's just pushed that leg and managed to reclaim it there. So I lost my positioning there. I probably should have actually focused on this arm now and not let him get control of that arm. But I was silly and I started focusing on the hips, and that allowed him to use that arm to gain more control. Alright, so there's another little John Wayne attempt trying to get Jamie to post. I got my frame back again. And he's really leaning over to the side. I got my butterfly hook again now, just like in the previous one. It's really hard when his hips are switched like that. It's hard to use a butterfly hook because when I try and if I like open my legs too much, he can actually flick out of the leg. So I'm actually sort of holding his leg so his other leg can't come out too far this way. So we're getting stuck in this position. Jamie's keeping his hips switched, putting good pressure with the crossface, keeping me flat. I really want to get my hand underneath this hip to help lift. Alright. So what's happened here, I've managed to get double underhooks here. So both of Jamie's hands are on the mat. I've managed to pummel 2 underhooks. I've basically connected my hands and flared my elbows, trying to get Jamie as far forward relative to me as possible. He's countering that with his legs being locked like so. So I've got the butterfly, and I've got this knee behind, which is good. But he's really like locked into my hips using that squeeze that I was talking about earlier. Alright, he actually manages to smash my legs here, which is not great for me, but my one saving thing here, so I actually tried to elevate, but he's countered that with that leg smash, which is really a really good way to go about it. Okay, so you see here, I went to lift and Jamie's taking my legs together. The only bad thing is he actually can't control me with his upper body because he's so far forward. Even though he's got my legs smashed, I can start to get up, and we do end up in quite a strange position. Again, this is Jamie's leg squeeze that he's got. It's really hard for me to free my legs, and he's trying to free his arms while maintaining his leg control. I'm trying to free my legs while maintaining arm control here. And I think from memory I go for a Kimura grip off this one, just to kind of, I don't even know what it's for, to be honest. It's a very odd position to land in, typical of Jamie. If you watch Jamie in the gym rolling with all the with anyone actually, they usually just got a utter look of frustration on their face because he gets these leg entanglements like this, and he'll just hold someone there. He rolls with the same person for a good 40 minutes and they get furious. But here I am, I got out towards the back. Alright, good work, Jamie. So we're working from switch base or crossbody side control now. So another very difficult, one of the most common questions I get is, how do you get out, or what do you do when someone does this to you? Okay, so first of all, I don't want Jamie to free his right knee. So I try to keep my left leg over the top of that knee. Let's just go back to that. Okay, so here I don't want Jamie to be able to push this down, so keeping this above the line of his knee if possible. And I'm kind of stuck here. Like, I'm not going to push him any lower, but at least he's low enough that I can frame with my forearms, which is really good. Now, we don't want him higher, which we will work from in a moment, just to show you how I try to approach that. But I'm going to try and get up on this right elbow, which is going to give me a lot of space. Right now there's no space. But when I get up on my elbow and start to like push up a bit, it's going to give me a lot more space. There's the elbow. Okay. Lets me hip escape a bit, and now there's actually like a gap underneath between his hips and my chest. There's actually like a good gap now that I can try to work with. Yeah, but we'll see some funny transitions here. So I'm going to grip onto the hip, which is actually like, I have a chance here. If I manage to like give a good bridge, I can actually bridge over and get on top. But it's just hard for me to bridge because of the leg positioning. But I think that's actually how I end up sweeping him. It's just there's a few things happen before that. So I'm trying to ensure that I have good. Yes. Okay, this is what I'm working for. Okay, good. Okay, so let's have a look at that actually. Jamie will like this because he's actually really good at this guard himself. So we're in the octopus guard now. And I'm working to take my left leg, this one, and hook it in Jamie's right leg. And you'll see when I get it. Okay, so it's starting to get there. And there we go, it's hooked. I believe I showed this sweep. So now I've hooked his shin. All I have to do now is free my right leg, this one that's poking through. I've got to free that by lifting with this hook, and I'll have a chance at Jamie's back. So I get up. He knows this move, so he's making it difficult for me. Oh, and that's okay. I don't get his back with that. It's another one where I actually use this same thing. We'll have a look at that later. But so because he knew that move was coming, he actually didn't post. But if he had posted, I would have had a chance of going to his back. Alright, so I just bridged over and we get the sweep. Alright, we start from crossbody or switch base side control again. This time I sort of started with my arms like more above my head, so it's really got higher, which sucks for me a lot. Okay, and I talk about this, but this little bump I did. Okay, I wanna get a bit of space here because it's gonna give me some chance to move. So my right leg curled over like that is gonna post. I'm gonna put that leg on the mat, staying real tight and like do almost like a John Wayne little sweep to the left. Yes, good, like that. And just notice that let me get my elbow back in. So as I did that with my legs, my elbow gets in, and now I've actually got some ability to block the hip, at least a little bit, okay? Or at least to get onto my side now and turn. So I'm turning, and this might give me a chance to get this underhook. That's definitely one possibility. Yes. So this arm's coming back. And I've come back over the top with that arm. I could have tried to come through for an underhook there. I've gone back to this octopus grip, and I'm back to trying to hook his leg, so I've got a better chance of this octopus guard sweep now. This, to be honest guys, this isn't that, like, I don't usually find this sweep that often. I know it's there and I do use it, but so just so you know, in case, like, I think it's very dependent on your opponent's reaction. Okay, I don't get the full octopus hook, but I'm basically going to get the same sweep. So normally I would actually like this foot hooked around the front of Jamie's shin here, but he's got his leg in a different position, so I can't. But I've managed to free my right leg out here like this. So it's basically like I'm in closed guard. Okay, or if I keep him down, that's going to turn into the back. So I cross my legs, and I'll roll up to mount. Okay, so let's just have a look at that again. So I've got the hip. I managed to trap his foot. Now, good, and I free my bottom leg. That's what I wanted to get free in that last clip, and now I'm working to free my right leg. Once that's free, once we're free, I keep pressure down so he can't posture up. So there's a lot of downward pressure with this left arm, and he's running away so he doesn't get his back taken, but that lets me get on top. I'm gonna do some more specific training from the crossbody. This time I'm trying to work my right hand through underneath this leg to try to pull myself towards deep half guard, so which is definitely another option you got here. So you see my right hand's fed through. It's actually a really good option from here, especially when they're so high up like Jamie is. So obviously I want them down lower near my hips, they're further away from passing. When they're that high up, this is a really nice option. Okay, and now I'm trying to like make some space to get my right arm back. So see that? Let's just watch that again. Maybe even further back. So I got my arm in now. I want it high, not near the knee, but near the hip, if I can. Actually, eventually it'll get towards the knee, but I've bridged over and I've swung my elbow over the top. I really wanted to bring that through, but he's blocked that, so I couldn't get that through. I swung the other way and then back. Good, and that little bump gave me my elbow back through. Okay, so now I've got a better chance of getting underneath towards the deep half. The way Jamie's posting, he's basically let me roll him forward. Okay, so this one's a bit different to how I would have expected it to go. He's going for the crossface, so you can see there's nothing that Jamie's got posting out here. Sometimes you just have to sense these things. Obviously you can't necessarily see that, but well, maybe you can see the hands in front of you. And I want to bring Jamie's hips up more towards my head and extend the legs or his leg away from his body. I'm trying to do that, so I'm trying to pull the leg this way and his other leg away from him, which is going to off balance him. He's posted with his right hand, but he actually, if I do a little back roll here, he ends up rolling over. It wasn't necessarily my intent to get the sweep, but once I felt his weight, there was a chance that we were going to go there. And let's see where we actually end up. So that could have been a sweep. Maybe it won't be a sweep. Yeah, it's a sweep. Alright, this time we're starting from, this is a position I really like to pass from, which is a underhook on one side and a grip on the arm on the other side with the head on the near side. So Jamie's sort of over here. Also, I'm not sure if this is Jamie's favourite pass, because I usually actually, when I do this on top, I'll actually sprawl a lot out to my left. I don't want my weight on top, because that lets him get like a potentially useful butterfly hook. So this might be slightly different to the position that I prefer, but let's see. So I've worked my arm to the other side. Let's have a look at that again. Why did I do that? So he's got his head there. He's got his head on the left side. I tried to turn in. I wanted to turn all the way on my right side and get my elbow back. That's usually how I defend this. This when someone has a good underhook and their head on the other side. But Jamie's actually taken his head back to this side as that happened. And he has a chance at the arm triangle, but not really, because my arm's actually blocking. You can see my hand's actually blocking his hand from being able to connect. Now I'm using I don't use the lockdown that often, but this is one time that I do use the lockdown. When someone's so much forward pressure and I want to just get the weight a little bit off me, because my hands are really stuck now. So this is where I start configuring my legs for the lockdown like that, and I start pushing away. You see, that just takes his weight a little bit off me, gives me a chance to try to free my arm again. So I don't think I got in the best position by swinging my arm over that side, because his head wasn't quite so far on that far end. Now Jamie's gone for the Khabib. If this is MMA, I'd be in all sorts, but luckily it's not MMA, it's Jiu-Jitsu. So he's caught my arm here, let's see, and he's got a crossface at the same time, so he's got good positioning. He started out with good positioning, but he's still got quite good positioning, potentially even better now than where he started. I managed to pummel my underhook through that gap. Let's have a look at that, because that's what's really saved me there. Okay. So Jamie's trying to get good control here, but in backing away, he actually let my elbow come back through, and it's gone nice and high as an underhook. Now I just need to free my arm. Well, I don't even. He's tried to backstep, but even with my arm there, I've done the Jedi mind trick. So I've put my hook to the top leg, and if I can free my arm and my head, I'm going to be out on his back. But no doubt that's going to be difficult to do. So I've ended up in a strange position here. I'd probably ignore any technical advice I give here, because it's not a usual position. It's almost actually looks somewhat like a berimbolo. So actually, if I free my arm, I'm halfway through a berimbolo. Yeah, here we are. Good. So now I got my leg position, and I'm going to go for the back. Starting again from underhook and head on the near side. Jamie controlling my elbow. He's gone for, he wanted the near side underhook for a moment, but he's blocked that there. So again, I have to be patient a little bit. There's not a lot of space for me to work with, so it's the tiniest little gaps I'm looking for, and just incrementally trying to get little grips that might, work to off balance him. So I've managed to get to the half butterfly again, which is obviously a pretty decent upgrade, especially when my hips are facing a little more to the left like that. If they're facing to the right, he could potentially kick off. But at the same time, Jamie has managed to get control under both of my arms. He's got the double underhooks, which is definitely not good for me. I basically can't use my arms at all when they've got double underhooks. So let's see, I managed to get that back. Okay, so how did I get my arms back from there? My left elbow. Alright, let's have a look at that again. So he's got double underhooks. I'm able to frame a little bit with my right hand, enough that my elbow comes in, and when I turn to my side, I can suck my elbow to the ground, and now I've freed that arm. So that's not a bad one before escaping this position. Here both my arms are caught. I managed to get enough space to get a frame with my right arm, and then when I get my left elbow inside that same space that the frame is making, I can now turn to my side and get that elbow down. Okay, now I've got my underhook again, which is definitely a much better position than the double underhooks. Now I've got my second underhook and brought Jamie forward, and then there was a weird transition there, and I think I end up with a heel hook, but let's just have a look at the transition there. So I get my second underhook and I push Jamie forward, elevating with that hook. So I've really brought his weight far too forward. I think he's tried to turn that into a rolling back take as a way of trying to salvage the position, and that gives me a chance for the outside heel hook. Alright, this time we're starting from 3/4 mount when Jamie has double underhooks. Again, another horrible position to start from. You don't want to get stuck here, but we're going to see the little things I try to do to get out of these things I would say are bad half guards. Okay, alright, I managed to get back pretty quick there. Let's see, how did I do that? Alright, so I'm trying to get my elbows in. Jamie's doing what you should do, which means his elbow's at a line where I can't I pull my elbow back down by my side, it gets blocked. Okay, same on this side. You want on top, you want as wide of a post as possible while still controlling the elbows, which is exactly what Jamie's doing. Okay, if you control too tight in the armpits, yes, they can't get their arms back, but you also don't have good base. So having a wider post like this is much more beneficial for Jamie. But maybe it was slightly too wide, because it looks like me just two things here. Okay, I use this. Okay, so maybe I must have sensed that I was almost through with this left elbow. It's almost enough to get that back. You can see it won't though, okay, as it is now. But my right hand, which looks like a blur right now, is going to push Jamie's head a little bit towards me, and as that happens, his whole trunk's going to move a little bit to the right, and then as that happens, this gap will open a little bit for my elbow to slip. There you go. See, I've pushed him a little that way, and that's given me enough room now to suck my elbow through, and now I'm back in a position where I can start using my arms, or at least my left arm. My right arm's still stuck. Jamie's working to get that back. The Americana is not really a threat while I'm on my side. It's only if I'm on my back that I'm worried about the Americana, the submission, but I still would rather that doing something. Alright, Jamie's maybe being a bit silly, going for a rolling back take. He had good positioning there, so anyway. And we're going to turn that back against him just to punish him and end up on top. Starting again from 3/4 mount with Jamie having double underhooks, and I managed to get my arms back reasonably quick there. Let's see why or how I got that time. I think he just didn't have great control of. So I've just got I'm on my side, pinching obviously guys, pinch your knees together here, and that's going to stop the foot from freeing. It's not so much a triangle, but a pinch of the knees that'll do that. I'm not sure how I managed to reclaim control here. I don't seem to have any great leverage to do so. Let's see what I do with my legs. Maybe I did something with my legs to off balance him. So his hands are gone. He's got a reasonably narrow base here. Maybe that's what's made him post. I scooted okay, so that can be a way to like shift. I wouldn't think that would make him post too wide, but so what I actually do with my legs, I often see how his knees really tight against my hips here. You will see me like extend. I keep my knees pinched, but I extend my hips, so I push it like they're pinched and they circle away a bit, trying to open his knee out. Just watch that. Like that. Okay, I try to open a bit of space. because if I get my elbow back, I want it on the inside of that knee. So use that action occasionally, like that. But this time he's stopped that, and then I've scooted underneath a little bit with my legs. So I've opened my legs, and it's like a curl down with my right leg and a curl up as I like scoot underneath, like a reverse hip escape with my left leg. Maybe that's just what off balanced him a little bit here and gave me a chance to get my forearm in. And that's the annoying thing about this, his knee is tight, so I can't get my elbow in front. Alright, so I'm going to deep half guard this time, which is definitely a good option from the 3/4 mount. So now I take my right arm and I feed it between the legs. There you go, see that there? And now my aim is really, once I'm here, my aim is to like get lower down on this leg. So basically get Jamie's hips higher up on me, basically above my head as I get lower down. But I don't want to have his knee on the ground as I do that, so I'm going to start walking my hips to my left. As I try to bring his hips up, I want to walk to my left so that I get underneath that knee. I don't want his knee on the ground as I do this. So that's me walking to my left, trying to bump forward, using my arm to try to bump his hips forward. Now Jamie's countering that. I want to bring him higher, so what does he do? He's going to triangle his, or like cross his legs together like that, okay? Trying to stop himself going forward, okay? But that does give him a very, his base is not so good here. Let's see what happens. I knock his base around a bit, trying to make him undo those legs. Here he has undone them, but he's gone overcommitted too much. I think he's going for my head here, trying to get a guillotine, but I think that'll let me roll up on top. So if I bridge here, it should be. Yeah, or if I just, oh no. I should have been able to get on top, but I didn't. I've come to waiter sweep. Okay, so as he's come back, waiter sweep. So I'm basically in deep half, on waiter sweep. Position, and this is going to go to modified X guard. Alright, this one we're starting from the knee cut position. Jamie's got the underhook. This is a horrible position to start from. You don't want to start from here. And he's got control. You can see he's got double underhooks here, at least at the moment. Both underhooks plus knee cut. This is not good. So usually from here, what I try to do is like, hopefully if I can get their weight out a little more this way, I can start turning too much on my side and getting my underhook back through to get there. We'll see if that happens. So even here it's possible, if I swing my arm over the top, I can tuck through this space and get my underhook. Yes, I've gone under. And then I want to like, there's no gap here because he's so tight there. So I want to like bump Jamie forward, and that will make a gap, but he's actually like swinging his leg back to counteract that. So we'll see where that takes us, because he's almost trying to do a back step now, but maybe I get enough room. Okay, I'm now actually in like a Jedi mind trick sort of position. So I've actually, because he's back stepped, I've actually taken my, you can't really see it, but my left foot is going to hook just like we do with the Jedi mind trick. You can see that there now. I think I've taken a hook. So now, if I'm able to get my underhook, I should have a chance of doing the Jedi mind trick. Okay, so see that now. Now you can see. So I've actually taken my left foot and hooked instead of crossing my feet. I'm hooking. Now I'm just trying to work, basically trying to work Jamie to bring Jamie forward, get him to post on the mat in front of me, and bring my head out the back. Let's see. Little movements. Okay, there's the underhook. Good. And I'm controlling his arm here, so that's going to give me a chance when I bump him forward to get my head out the back. Alright, my head's out the back. I've got the hook. Jamie's trying to attempt some sort of leg entanglement now. It cannot work while I've still got this hook. He needs to free my foot from being a hook for that to work. So as long as I'm really focused on that hook, this is definitely an advantageous position for me. Okay, I unhooked but swung out on top, landed in the mount. We're going to start from the knee cut, double underhooks again. So not a good position, knee cut with double underhooks. was one time where I did get past. I think this might be it. Yeah. Jeez, that was horrible. I lost his leg pretty early. But I was unable to recover. So usually I actually like to use this hand to push that through and recover. Jamie does a great job at hiding that foot, and I'm unable to recover in time. But basically when he passes with my arms above my head, let's just see how. So what I would usually be trying to do here, I want to curl and catch his foot with my top leg and do like a reverse hip escape, scoot underneath and try and tilt Jamie backwards. Like kind of the same action you do for the roll under sweep. That you can check the underhook half guard section for that if you want to see the mechanics of that. But I'm going to try to like off balance him here. But I think when I try to adjust my feet here, I actually lose the whole leg. Yeah, so I actually wanted to catch. I want my right foot, my top leg, to catch over his foot, but it's not quite there, and I think I tried to adjust for that, like use my right then my left to do it, but I actually missed the whole thing. So now he's flicked free and he's out. So if you look at that again, I want my so this is his leg. When my right foot didn't quite catch it right, and yeah, he's freed it. So hard to explain verbally without showing, but I was hoping to catch that foot a bit different, and in the process he's managed to free his leg and he's out. Alright, we're here with, once again, from knee cut with double underhooks. We have another go at trying to get out from here. Jamie, good, a lot of forward pressure. That's what I wanted to do. Okay, so in the previous video, what I wanted to do was catch with my shin like that over his foot. I didn't have that, okay, because that gives me much better power to use that leg. Okay, I've just locked a triangle, which is going to keep him. That triangle is tight enough, and the pinch between my knees together will stop that foot from being able to slide through that gap. You never want to lose that foot at this stage early, but I've managed to get an underhook, so now we actually can. How did I get that underhook? So Jamie's got double underhooks. So I turn on my side too much. I kind of overcommit to my side, and then as he's trying to free his leg, I bump him forward a little bit, and that gap. See just that slight bump. These little tiny movements make such a difference. So when I bump him forward a little bit, a gap opens up for my arm to come through. It's not a sweep. You're not expecting to sweep them with these bumps. My hips have come forward, so it's like a little bridge from me there. Okay, and then I'll retract my hips to open that gap. So watch this. Okay, retracted the hips a little bit. My elbows come through, and there's our underhook. Okay, now we're in the Jedi mind trick position. Pressuring the knee. We just do the roll under sweep. That's fine. Okay, so interesting little pummel there. See, I lost a little bit of positioning here on the foot. See, I've got his foot. That's Jamie's foot. I've got it trapped nice and good. And he does a really nice little pummel there. Okay, and I've lost a lot of control on that leg right now. So I have to try to. Hopefully, yeah, I worked to get that back. I actually just circled to get that back. Okay, and now I feel comfortable to apply pressure for the roll under sweep. That wouldn't work without that leg positioning. I just want to say thank you to everyone for purchasing this series. I hope you enjoyed it. Special thanks to Chris from MMA Media, who filmed this over 2 very long days, plus some extra time as well on top of that, just making sure we get as much and make this as good as possible. Thanks to BJJ Fanatics for believing in my jiu-jitsu and making this series possible. Thanks to Tim, aka Jeremy, aka Tom, for again being a great partner and sitting with us throughout these big long sessions to film this. And again, thanks for your support. Please follow my YouTube channel, Absolute MMA St Kilda, and I hopefully can do more of these type of products again.